One is a grown man with an encyclopedic knowledge of cinema. The other, a man-child raised by the more questionable corners of the internet. What happens when they each dive into something the other one loves? Find out on
The Man with No Brain.
Yeah, we'll give out my mother's maiden name on the podcast. People can look at my SNN.
Okay.
Latrine.
No!
Her last name's Latrine.
No!
That's a Robin Hood Men in Tights joke.
Yeah, that's Mel Brooks.
Used to be shithouse.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, we are here. We took about 55 minutes to get ready. So please take the floor. It is yours. And Joe, behave.
Okay. No, absolutely.
All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Man with No Brain, episode number 10. I am your host, Ryan Matthew Ziegler, and as always, I am joined by the man with no brain himself, also known as Stammering Dingus, according to one of the latest comments on your masturbatory half-hour bullshit hour.
Well, it's
Joseph Robert Buckley. How you doing, Joe?
Oh, who's that at the door? What, you've got long fangs and you can only come in if I let you? What's that? Is that some kind of vampire? Ooh, it's the man with no brain. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Buckley. How you doing?
Joe, you don't have sharp teeth. You grinded them down on fucking slushies and sweet and sour chicken.
You know what Joe just did, Ryan? He didn't take your introduction. He avoided it at all costs, set up his own intro for himself.
Well, I just wanted to go with the
totally
sci-fi
fine.
theme. Yeah, I just wanted to...
I'm going to let him run out of steam, and then we're going
won't
to
take
return
long.
to that. So
No.
let me know when you're done with your vampire
No,
bit.
that was all I had. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, Joe? Your
Okay.
vampire bit sucks.
Blood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm Tad. I'm his cousin.
Yeah, the other voice, I could see. I see already a similarity between Tad and Joe. The impatience gene is very strong.
Well, this is...
within the Beckley.
The Bucker
Beckley.
and
That's what we're going to call you.
Bucker-
The Becker and Buckley clan
Damn it.
is the Beckley clan.
Bucker,
But
Buckley
yes, we are
and Becker.
joined
Fuck.
by Tad
It's tough.
Robert Becker. And before I get too deep into this, Joe, I do want you to address the comment.
Oh, the new comment? No, I think...
The comment
Yes.
that said you often turn into a stammering dingus when you're doing your shush hour.
That is...
What do you think about that?
That is completely fine. I'm okay with that. Anybody can say anything they want. This is a free country, and I took some speech therapy as a kid, so I'm not ashamed of that, so that's okay.
No, but what I'm saying is, what do you agree or disagree? Not that they can, of course, they're allowed to have their opinion, whatever. It's what do you think about that?
Well,
do you agree? Do you disagree?
I'd like to say that I turn quick-witted on the shush hour. That's why I do it.
You're so quick. How many air horns do you get in an average episode?
I may get 20 to 35. I don't know.
That just proves you don't actually listen back to the show.
Well, I don't count them.
We are joined by cousin Tad,
Yes,
Joe's
this is,
cousin.
This is Ted
And,
Becker, host of the illustrious Let Me Tell You About podcast.
Yeah, for those, we do have some new subs coming from my end, so they are unfamiliar with Let Me Tell You About. So, Tad, real quick, let us know, what is your podcast, Let Me Tell You About?
Back in 2017, I wanted to make a podcast because they're cool and hip. And I had no idea what I was doing until 2019. And then I kind of figured out how to do a podcast. But it's just me and my best friend Alex. And sometimes Joe sneaks in through like the vents in my house.
Like a
he does it,
xenomorph.
yeah. I know he's there because I'll hear him say something about a TV dinner. But he'll say it like, oh, now I know what it feels like. Do you believe eat dinner?
No, I've never said believe eat dinner.
For a while, me and Joe would do, we had a show called Best Boys where he would force me to watch really good movies. And they were actually pretty informative, which is why I was surprised to see how bad of a movie reviewer Joe is now. He lost that skill.
No, I'm
I don't
still a
think
good
you
movie
never
reviewer.
had it. You never had it, Joe.
I think the Best Boys were extremely informative. You guys should go back and listen to that. And hey, it's still an ongoing series. We just did Evangelion maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
I think you're good at farming. You go online and you farm opinions, and then you put it into fast food bites, and you sprinkle a little bit of salt, get some shit on there, and you feed these people, and then they're like, "Oh, Joe is this great reviewer."
No, I think I am a great reviewer, much like the Leonard Maltins of the world, the Roger Ebert. I mean, that's what they did. They probably looked online back in 1994 to see what they thought of The Sandlot.
You know
and
what?
then-
No, they probably form their own opinion based on watching movies. And that's how they did the review. But see, what you do, Joe, is you pick movies you already know and love, and then you do the reviews. And, that's fine. But you should watch stuff maybe you don't like. And that's why we do Clash of the Commentaries, even though that's just an excuse to yell and everything. I mean, that's really, the whole thing is a bit. But
what Best Boys was, it was like basically, in my view, it was like basically an introduction to film class that you could take almost for free on your computer.
Oh, my God.
oh, God,
my
Joe.
God.
I personally know about half a dozen legit film professors, and I should send them links to Best Boys and say, this guy here, Joe Buckley, says that he's basically giving free film school and free film history classes and free film critique classes, and see what they would say.
I think I am, and once IVCC opens back up, maybe I'll do an hour over there.
No, they'll pay you to stay away.
Okay.
I'd love to see you take on that film class.
Absolutely.
I can't even... But okay. Is this a bit? Are you getting the bits out? Is that what you're doing, or Joe?
No, I don't believe so.
Joe, do you honestly believe? I'm sorry. I was so proud of you for being patient with me while we were trying to get this shit set up. I was so proud that you kept your mouth shut. But you make me go from 0 to 60. My heart is going to burst because you sit here and claim that you are some sort of like film historian and critic, and you can teach everybody like you're the next Scorsese. Like, are you serious?
I didn't say Scorsese. I said able to talk about films at IVCC at Illinois College.
I don't think you can do that.
Credit.
You're not qualified to do that.
I think I could be.
No, you're not.
I don't know if I have a teaching degree that I would need to do it, but I definitely have enough to say about film to do that.
You could teach an introduction to film history class,
I believe I could, yes.
Which means, Joe, you talk about the early days, 1894, and you get up through zoetrope and kinescope and go all the way up. You're going to talk about different genres. You're going to talk about different movements. You're going to talk about Italian neorealism. All of that is covered in a very basic introduction to film class. You think you can do all that without the textbook?
Ryan, hold on. I think I got a better qualifier here.
Okay.
Joe, you got to fucking show up, and you have to do the job, which you would not do.
No, that's not true. I am so early here. I came here 15 minutes early, and I show up on time now.
Okay.
They call me Timely Buck.
So just to get us back on topic, and because I feel so bad for Ryan. He busted his ass on an excellent hour and 40 long minute episode. We had technical issues. Unfortunately, it's getting shelved for the time being. And then you have the audacity to produce another 32 minutes of your schlock. And without Ryan's knowledge and consent. And now we're here focused again on you when this is supposed to be Ryan, the professor of the show, delving into Tad's brain to understand a man with a brain to understand the man with no brain. And here we are, you're the center of attention again. So the 10% of the people who commented on your hour that you are the star, well, guess what? That is over. This is the Ryan show.
No, I understand that. I can concede some mic time to Ryan. That's okay. So if you
can concede some mic time.
Yeah.
I don't want to
throw this coaster at Joe. It weighs like a good pound and a half.
I don't want to dig too deep into this right now because I want to get into the meat of this episode, which is interviewing Tad and exploring Joe's background through that interview. But if you do another hour, I want that hour, Joe, to be 30 minutes of you. I don't want sound effects. I don't want air horns. I don't want everyone supporting you and throwing good jokes in there. I want you to have no support. I want you to have 30 minutes like every other professional broadcaster that has his own show, that before they have a guest, sometimes they don't even have a guest. I want you to have 30 minutes where you talk and you entertain.
Well, I've already said before that I'm not going on mic just by myself. I have no interest in doing that. So,
but you're the star, Joe. A star does his own show.
Well, sometimes they do.
Zach, Sean, and I have done our own shows when the other person was out on professional radio and had to entertain by ourselves and do a 4-hour show. It's a music-based show, so we did have time. We have songs, of course, but it was still a 4-hour based show by ourselves, our own personality. Do you think you could do 30 minutes on an internet show by yourself, Joe, and still be the star?
Listen, Joe is like a star.
I have no interest in doing that.
Joe is a star, but he's like one of those little piddly, like brown dwarf stars that are about to explode.
Well, and also you can name it for $35.
That's true.
Yeah, he's a star, all right. He's a starfish.
Ryan is right, Joe. You have to prove yourself to your fans, and I am willing to sweeten the pot. I am willing
Joe loves sweets.
to do hours and hours and hours and hours of post-production. We actually just got a new comment complimenting the quality of the show as far as like the post-production elements. And thank you to that individual who said that. But anyways, I will do whatever. If you want to write a story ahead of time, I'll add the music and the sound effects. If you want to do stand-up, I'll put the fucking crowd in there, and I'll make sure that they laugh at every single thing you say.
Ooh,
so you can do whatever you want. You can prepare. You don't have to come in cold and we'll turn on a mic and there you go. But I think you got to prove to your fans one episode that you can do that. And hey, if they love it, guess what? Now you got a whole new show, and if they don't, then guess what, Joe?
I did. I don't know what would happen. I literally don't know.
He's a stammering Nimrod.
Yeah. You have to wear the stammering dingus hat.
Okay.
And Ryan keeps the leash.
Here, let me tell you this about Joe. And I swear to God, this is real. Joe has a stand-up comedy routine that is genuinely really, really funny. He delivered it to me in the car when I was driving him from Grand Ridge to somewhere because he didn't have a fucking car.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But he has a genuinely very funny stand-up routine.
Where have you been storing this great routine, Joe? We have yet to hear it.
No, I've got my list of bits, and you have seen those.
Oh, okay. So mine and Tad's feelings on your bits are different.
They might be.
He's got his Bartman joke that made me laugh.
Oh, you're talking about
that
a
is a
different
good one. That is a good one.
Yeah, because I've got like a 5-minute stand-up routine I deliver.
All right, listen, Joe, shut up. Let me talk to Ryan. Joe, sit in the corner.
Oh, I understand how I'm going to be treated this episode. That's fine. That's fine, people.
Okay, actual start. Ryan, the floor is yours. Take the show.
Okay. All right. Yes, and we do have Tad, Robert Becker, host of Let Me Tell You About a podcast that Joe is also part of on occasion. And right off the bat, not only is Tad Joe's cousin, but you both have the same middle name.
Yeah,
which is Robert.
I literally just realized that as soon as you open up, I'm like, oh God, I share a middle name with him.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
fucked
well,
up.
I was gonna
Joseph, Tad,
that's what I was
Robert,
gonna
Buckley, you get in here on the double. Who came in this vacuum?
That's what I was going to ask, is because you're both cousins and you're first cousins.
Yes.
I thought maybe Robert was an important name in your family. So you're both maybe named after a grandfather or something like that. But is that not the case?
I don't believe so.
For mine, I believe on my mom's side, Joe has a different grandma that he goes and sees. I only have the one grandma.
Yeah.
I have a singular grandma. He has a duo grandma. It's unfair. He
I
gets
got
twice as many.
Grammys.
Yeah, he goes over his grandma's and
get double
kills
cookies.
worms.
Oh, that's why he's rolling in the dough. He's got two
I get an
Grammys to give him
extra
Grammy money to
$300
buy
in
his
Christmas
weed
presents.
gummies. To buy his weed gummies.
I may have got 100 milligrams of edible gummies, so I'm going to be taking
in
those
case any of the
2.5.
grandmothers are listening.
No,
Yeah, but
whatever.
that's what I think Robert comes from. Is I think my grandma's original husband, his either first name was Robert or his middle name was Robert. I know that my name is Tad because I'm named after Abraham Lincoln's son.
What did he end up doing? He made the pancakes, right?
I think he killed himself.
Probably.
I know that Joe is named after the sound when you stub your toe and you go, Joe! You're named after something that's painful and unwanted.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, that's fine, though.
All right, so we've established that you're first cousin. So is it Joe? Is it your dad married Tad's mom?
No, that's not how that works.
that was a total slip. That wasn't a joke.
You're not inbred.
No,
it's
his
dad.
Your brother,
yeah,
Joe, your dad, his sister is Tad's mom.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
Okay. So your mom was Tad.
Unrelated to my father.
And when I used to live in Grand Ridge alongside Joe Buckley, and I was literally right down the road, like five houses down. So as we were growing up, we would have, we would always have birthday parties and stuff. I'd go over to Joe's house and we would ignore everyone and then play Super Smash Bros. Downstairs in the basement.
I like Smash, yeah.
And then I wouldn't want to come home, so I would just spend the night and he would play like ATV off-road racing on the PS2.
Yeah, no, that's correct. And we probably played it very late into the PS3's lifespan because I always had the shittiest, oldest console compared to everyone else.
Yeah, I would be playing Super Mario Sunshine. I go over to Joe's house. He's like, look at how fast I can beat Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
So you mentioned birthday parties. Which one were you as older?
I am
About
26.
Okay, yeah, so you're older. I'm 25 and a half.
Yep.
And a half.
Here, I got a fun birthday story for you, though.
Yeah.
Actually, no, never mind. I lied. It's not a birthday story. It's just a normal story. My mom had to do something. This is when I would have been like maybe 8. So Joe was either 8 or 7.
7.5.
So my mom dumped me and my 2 brothers. There's me, then my younger brother and my older brother. Dumped us all off at Uncle Bob's house with Joe and Jake and Jess.
Okay.
It was literally right down the street, so I just took my bike down there. And then my mom was pulling out, and I saw her with my own eyes drive towards us and then go to take the left turn to leave. And Joe fell over, and I ran him over with my bike from foot to head slowly. And I remember going over the bump of his head and hearing it hit the pavement.
Oh, yeah.
And then my mom...
God, that must have been satisfying. I am envious. So next time I'm in town, Tad, and there's no COVID, I'm going to shake that
Yeah,
hand.
you'll buy him $5 of nuggies.
So my mom saw this, and she just kept going. She
That's
did
the only
not
thing
stop.
you can do. Well, that's what they say whenever you're in Vietnam. If a man falls down behind you, you leave him behind.
So how old was Joe when you ran over?
Probably about 7.
Yeah, he would have been real little.
Okay.
And he probably doesn't remember it
Okay.
because he cracked his head in the fucking pavement.
Well, yeah, memory loss, yeah.
Well, did you go to the hospital for it?
Probably not, no.
No, I think we just ignored it.
I probably
Well,
cried.
that-
I probably cried a little and then ate some ice cream and played a little bit of Super Mario 3.
Yeah.
Well, that
Here's a fun
that
story
already
about
answers.
me. This was a different cousin, but they were at my house. We were all running around screaming, being children, and we were pretending to be rhinos. And I charged directly into the corner of of 2 walls and cracked my head open. And my Aunt Kathy just super glued my head shut and called it good.
Well,
So-
you
Yeah,
know,
that's medicine. That's medicine.
Yeah,
Super
we-
in,
glue
we
the,
can
can
in
do.
the Midwest,
Yeah.
in the Illinois Valley, duct tape, super glue, all that stuff works. It works wonders. We use it for everything.
Yeah, I mean, I accidentally did that too, but I was about 25 and I accidentally left a hole in an arcade owner's wall whenever we were trying to have a film meeting.
You weren't 25. you weren't 25 when that,
was like
happened, Joe.
5 years ago, Joe, and you're 25 now.
Oh, okay. I thought I was like 22,
Jesus.
23.
Time is a construct of capitalist overlords, Ryan.
Yeah. If
Joe just
men,
explained his age and then literally said that when I was 25, the age he is now, and it described an incident from 3 or 4 years ago when we were in pre-production on Butcher the Bakers.
yeah,
is
that
when
was whenever that happened. No, but I mean, man is like a clock, and who watches all these little watchmen?
So me and
Tad, what is your earliest memory of Joe?
my earliest memory of Joe probably is the bike one, but me and Joe had a routine starting in, I don't know, maybe 2009, 2010, where so every holiday, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, yada yada yada, we'd all go over to our grandma's house in Streeter, the shared mutual grandmother.
Yeah.
And we would both arrive, and Joe would have a portable DVD player, and he would have about 30 to 40 movies, and we never watched a single goddamn movie until like 2013 when he had River City Panic. I was like, okay, I'll watch that in the basement. So we
Well,
just ignored the rest of the family, went into the basement and watched it. And then every year after that, whenever we had one of these events, so it's been 7 years now, he would come over and he'd bring his laptop, and we would ignore the rest of the family and then just go downstairs and play Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, we need to make sure we can play some co-op. What's wrong with that?
Co-op with
So-
your cousin.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that for a long time, early part of your life, you lived down a couple of houses down from Joe.
Yes.
But one of your earliest memories was about 7 years old. Was Joe not a big fixture of your life, except for holidays, for those first couple of years?
Pretty much.
And it wasn't until like 7 or 8 you guys started spending a lot of time together, or
So I lived in Grand Ridge only for a span of like a few years. But in that time, if we wanted to play, I would either go to my cousin Brandon's house, where me and him methodically broke every single one of the brand new windows his dad bought by throwing wrestling figures through it. And then I never saw him again after that, so I think he may have been killed.
You wanted to make sure that Randy Savage could fly.
Yeah, and he could. Let me tell you what, Kane could body slam you through it.
Chris Benoit, he broke a window, broke his son's neck after that. That's what
Stop
happened.
referencing Chris Benoit.
He's
He's
a
the only
cool
wrestler
wrestler.
you know.
Thank you,
Tad.
Tad.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank
we
you,
just
Tad.
heard you say, Chris, what is that? Is that the one wrestler you know, Joe?
That's the only one I care about, yeah.
I was impressed the first time you mentioned him, but now this is the 4th or 5th.
See, Joe, you should have referenced Stone Cold Steve Austin, because his theme was
He
like...
didn't break his son's neck. That's,
no, but he
that's
broke
not
the
funny.
glass, and he was unbeatable, and he loved his wife, and he loved Jesus. I don't know wrestling. Anyway,
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
not
we
funny.
would.
There's not a dead child involved with Stone
Joe
Cold.
only knows about that wrestler because of
The chairs.
the tragedy.
Yeah, and because he listened
what
to it
made
on a
him
freaking
interesting?
podcast.
Otherwise, he would just be a wrestler. Now he's a murderer.
So yeah, I would just go over to Joe's. We would just mostly hang out and play video games. We played a lot of Smash Bros. and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was not allowed to play M-rated games, so Tad would not find Halo at my house. He would not find Grand Theft Auto. He would find boring baby games like Bart Simpson versus the Space Aliens.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, Joe. It's funny you bring that up. You talk about how you weren't allowed to play certain video games, yet you were allowed to play the Bart Simpson game. You've said many times, you've gone on the record multiple times saying that your family didn't let you
watch The Simpsons.
The Simpsons. Now, Tad, how strict growing up were Joe's parents as far as the films and the shows and the stuff he was allowed to consume?
I remember them being pretty hardline whenever I was over about, hey guys, this is the bedtime, you guys are done. It's, 10 o'clock or whatever. And they would, they would shut it all down. 5:30 p.m. They'd shut it all down and have us all go to bed. I remember them not allowing Joe to play the M-rated games. I remember that. My mom just didn't give a shit.
She was sensible.
Whatever, yeah. She would let us play Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Grand Theft Auto. And she was like, you know what, it's fine. You kids, you're not going to go out to the street and start running people over with cars.
Well, God, no. If you only knew then, Joe, it would take you.
No, exactly. It would take me an extra 7 years to try to run someone over with a car.
Yeah, now truly Joe is going to become the god of war. That's what they were afraid
Absolutely, of. Yeah. No, I'm going to be doing a little Simpsons hit and run, and I'm my protege.
Did that thing even run?
My protege is running fine, thank you.
Listen, Joe, I believe that you could hit, but I don't believe that you could run.
I can run so fast!
Actually, Ryan, we just learned the other day that Joe has not gotten an oil change, at least to his knowledge, since he purchased that vehicle over 2 years ago.
Yes.
So,
how many years ago, Joe, did you buy that car?
2 years ago, and surprisingly, only because he's going from Grand Ridge to Ottawa. Trevor and Nick got in there. They pulled the dipstick. They checked out. It is low, but Joe is only about 5,000 miles over his oil change. The mileage amount.
That's a goal. That's a goal for before winter comes.
To change my
is
oil.
to get your oil changed.
Okay,
take it in, get a new filter, get your oil
some
changed.
fresh new oil for
Joe,
the car.
where we are right now is literally less than a minute away from a Jiffy Lube.
That Jiffy Lube is shut down. There's vagrants living in that.
We don't know that for sure.
Wait,
you can call and check.
Well, I looked online and it said it was closed, and that's all the research I prefer to do on cars.
Dude, there are people, Joe, tire places will change your oil. I get my oil changed at a tire place.
No, I know. I think I'm going the streeter with it.
I don't even go to the dealer. I don't go to the dealer. I went and got it changed at tire, tire
Yes.
exchange.
Yeah. Now that I know that it's an issue, I will get that taken care of.
Guess what?
Right.
The grease spot in Streeter is open at 8 a.m., as is Tire Tracks USA.
Look for about 1 to 2, maybe. Open from 1 to 2.
I'm not fucking scheduling this for you. I'm just telling you what it is.
I understand, but that's my waking
Jesus
hours.
Christ.
I wake up at around 1 to 2, so I'm saying
No, you're only awake from 1 p.m. to 2.
I thought my buddy was going to do a little research for me. I'm
No,
sorry, I was
hold on,
mistaken.
Your buddy
Ryan,
has
say something.
done enough for you.
Okay.
The whole reason you're talking right now in a microphone is because of your buddy. Your
True,
persona has been 80% created by your buddy and the rest of us. We are Frankenstein and you are the Frankenstein's monster. And that is the truth, my friend.
Tyler M has a microphone. He is masturbating it like it's a penis, and he is then throwing the imaginary cum at me. I don't believe that's accurate.
Ryan, I have no idea
Anyway,
what he's talking
let's get back
about.
to the task at hand.
Thank you.
Joe is just flailing.
Tyler's trying to distract me.
All right, so I got a few stories more recently from my interactions with Joe.
Okay.
So we made this short movie film thing called Sip Boys. It was all about energy drinks. Turned out mildly funny. After the first 10 minutes, it became enjoyable, but it was kind of shit before that. But that's okay. It's first thing, whatever. 2 different cameras, completely different. Didn't have audio. It's fine. Listen, whatever. I was quote unquote bankrolling it. So I would have lunch. I would get everyone together for lunch at like Lynn Garden. And Joe only eats sweet and sour chicken. He will not eat anything else.
Well, here, I'll rebuttal with that. It's not that I won't eat any other, because I won't eat anything except chicken in general at a Chinese buffet, or meat in general, because I'm paying for the buffet. I'm not eating greens. I'll eat greens on my dime, not somebody else's.
I'll give Joe some credit. I have seen Joe fill his plate with various forms of meat and chickens of different sauces. That is about the only place that Joe will experiment with different sauces and flavors of things. I mean, it's still all like, overcooked meat.
Yeah,
teriyaki,
Dr. Pepper.
But Joe, maybe we need to send you on a remote. You can go to Taiwan, Korea, all over.
I'll just get beat to death and then enslaved by the government.
All over Asia to try their food and see what you think.
Okay. Yeah, that could be fun.
Some of the other things Joe did there.
I'm just hoping you don't come back.
I'm Japanese now. I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. Damn it.
Shut up, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Joe knows that song.
It was in the Jackass movie, I believe.
Well, I know. It can't have been delivered to you in some sort of other way than just knowing it, but that's fine. You know the song regardless. So,
for one of the scenes, we were in the middle of the country. And Joe had to show up for like maybe 5 minutes of it, but he showed up like an hour early, which is mind-blowing. But he also showed up with a wet bag of McDonald's breakfast sandwiches when it was like 4 p.m. So I don't know if those had just been sitting in his car for 5 hours.
No. What happened with that is I had to work the same day as the shoot. So it's like I worked all day. Okay, I got to get something to eat. And I'm like, okay, I'll pick up some food for my buddies. But I don't really know what they like. I don't know if they're picky with the sausage. So I said, okay, breakfast food, you can't fuck it up. And they'll probably eat it. So I'll get extra breakfast sandwiches for everybody.
I guess
hold
it
on a
worked.
second. This reminds me of something, and this is for Tad.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, was Tad the individual that was with you during the infamous McDonald's mix-em-up?
Oh, he was.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I have that on my paper here.
So, unfortunately, I think that this was in the episode that we had to shelve due to the audio quality issues. We will return to this.
Yeah.
But I guess, Joe, I would like to hear you retell that story since this is the first time for the listeners on our show. And then I want to hear Tad's version of that very same story.
yeah, get ready to hate Joe if you don't already, or if you're waffling right now on the edge and the precipice, you're like, I don't know if I like Joe or not. This story might finally push you over to hate Joe.
Well, it's like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. His heart's in the right place, but he doesn't know all the social norms
Yeah, Joe,
of food.
this McDonald's emulator is poorly coded.
Yeah, I can't do this. I don't know anything about the McDonald's video game.
So go ahead, Joe.
Joe, shut the fuck up and tell the story.
Tell me your terrible, awful, stuttering rendition of events.
Okay, so me and Tad, we may have played a little game of Magic. I don't know. It's late at night. We're getting some food. I order myself 3 plain chicken sandwiches. I open the bag. Whoa, what's this? Lettuce and mayo on these. I don't like lettuce and mayo on my sandwiches. I got these plain. So I scraped the mayo off most of the chicken meat. I ate the plain chicken patties, and then I said, Tad, we gotta go back. I gotta get my sandwiches. So we go back. I give them a bag full of just buns and wrappers and lettuce and mayo, and I say, I got these with mayo. Could I please get 3 plain sandwiches? And they gave them to me, and I ate them. So I ate 6 chicken sandwiches that night.
So where were you when you dissected those sandwiches and just ate the chicken?
In the car. I mean, it was pretty close to the McDonald's of origin.
So you sat there scraping mayo off?
Yes, in the
Whose
car.
car was it?
Tad's.
Poor Tad. In Tad's car, you're scraping mayo off to make sure that the sandwich is the way that you want it, or just the meat. The meat is meaty enough without that cream, and then you eat the meat, and then you say, Tad, take me back. So
I requested.
Okay, no, you did not request. Let me go ahead. Let me tell the true story of events.
Here's the truth. Joe, be quiet during this.
Okay.
I want Tad's story.
So from the very beginning, there was a Magic pre-release event in LaSalle. We had to be there at like 6 o'clock. So Joe finally gets ready, and he gets to my house at like it's 30 minutes away. So he gets to my house at 6 o'clock. So we're late to get there. We only got 15 minutes to build our decks, whatever. We do that, and then we leave. We decide, hey, let's go get something to eat. Let's go to McDonald's. And by this time, it is now thundering. It is hammering rain. I really don't want to stop, but Joe is fucking pouting about not getting his goddamn McChickens. We go over to this drive-thru, which does not have like a roof. It is just open. So the gap between the car and the window is just rain is just pouring in there. So this lady answers, and she's like 68. Like it's 68. It is a Friday night. There was like 14 people waiting. It was a horrible night. Gives us our bag of McChickens. I think I didn't even get anything because I wasn't hungry. I just wanted to go home. So I turn on my wipers. I do all that, and then I get back on the highway. And then Joe goes, no, impossible. No, it's wrong. So I'm driving.
I've seen that before. He does get really upset.
I am driving fucking 70 miles an hour, pouring rain on the highway, and he shoves this fucking McChicken in my face and says, Tad, yeah, I got it wrong. Yeah, I didn't order a McCum sandwich.
That
God, I hate you, Joe.
I know he said that. I have no reason to just believe you,
He
Tad.
said that.
The reason why I know that is because Joe. That is what Joe would say.
So this is the truest story I've heard about you, Joe.
This is not the thin blue
since we
line.
started doing this.
So I'm like, Joe, okay, whatever. It's fine. There's napkins in the bag. Just clean it off with that. And then he sputters something, this is infringing on my McChicken rights. No! And he demands that we go right back around. He keeps telling me to take a U-turn on that part of the highway that they use by police officers to go get his fucking McChickens. And I eventually break down. I'm like, okay, fine. I get off the highway. I circle around. And I go back. Mostly because now at this point, it's very rare for me to see Joe genuinely mad about something. I guess just this crossed his thin blue line. So we get there, and it's the same lady. It's still pouring rain. Like, the counter's all wet. She looks like she's miserable. And Joe's in my passenger seat. So I pull over, and I just put it into park because I know this is going to take a long time. So I roll down my window, and I say, hey, Joe has something to say.
You introduced him.
like a mom who's just fucking over it.
So Joe hands me this bag and tells me to give it to her. She opens it. And by the way, Joe, of course, spilled mayonnaise and fucking lettuce all over my car.
Well, that was an accident.
I know. I had one time Joe was eating a couple of cupcakes. We were coming back from a movie shoot in Chicago, and he had a couple of cupcakes. He ended up smashing the top of the cupcake and the icing all over the roof of my car, just trying to get out of the passenger side.
I was very excited.
I told him,
what?
And I forced him to throw those cupcakes in a bush.
Yes.
He didn't even get to eat them.
They were extremely good cupcakes from the film set, and I accidentally got some on your roof, and I am sorry.
By the way, Joe eats McChickens like a snake. Like, he just sets them in his mouth and just...
Yeah, I just let the meat fall down my throat.
So he hands her this bag, and she grabs it. She goes... She looks in it and she says, what is this? Because it's just a mess. Because obviously Joe couldn't put things on top so she knows what's in the bag.
Tad, thank you for saying this, because for some stupid reason, Ryan, I don't know why, I was picturing Joe meticulously putting the mayonnaise and the lettuce back on the sandwich, closing it up to make it look like it had never been touched. But he would never do that.
No, I don't engage in deception.
There's no fucking way. You just you shredded the wrapper, you shredded the lettuce, you got fucking mayo up and down that bag, and that poor lady just said, "Fuck it."
Well, that poor lady got the order wrong.
She did it!
Oh, God,
the lady at the window didn't make your food!
Sometimes I also make the food. Sometimes you run on 2 employees because they're shitholes.
I'm sorry, Tad. I'm sorry I cut you off.
Lady. So this lady, she looks in the bag. She's like, what is this? She just asks us, what is in this bag? And he tells her it's 3 McChickens with mayonnaise and lettuce. And so she asks him, couldn't you have just cleaned the mayonnaise off? Because she obviously, I'll give her a pass, this was a bad night. And Joe says, no, I did not order that. This is my receipt that Tad paid for. And hands the fucking receipt. And she looks at him, like the rain's coming down. She is exhausted. And she just closes the window. And then 5 minutes later, she comes back and gives us 3 McChickens. And I tell her I'm very sorry. And then I put it in the drive, and then I go back on the fucking highway while Joe sloughs down another three McChickens.
Ryan, I need you now eviscerate him before I blow a gasket. Please, Ryan.
So I want to make sure this is crystal clear. The events in my mind. Mm-hmm. So Joe receives a bag with 3 McChickens that have mayonnaise that he doesn't want. So he takes the chicken patties off, all 3 of them, eats the chicken patties.
After cleaning the mayonnaise off, yes.
After cleaning the mayonnaise off.
And then goes back to request more.
Throws the 3 random buns and the wrappers crumpled up into a bag.
Yes, it was a rat's nest of paper, lettuce, and chicken buns.
And you handed it back to the woman and demanded the correct sandwiches, even though you ate the chicken patties out of all 3.
Tyler is bouncing.
That may or may not be the correct. Yes.
What, Joe? What?
Yeah, yes.
So that's correct. Am I correct here? I've got all the facts straight.
Believe that's all correct. Yes, I can't. I'm not 100% sure of my recollection.
I'm 100% on Tad's recollection.
And you didn't feel any shame on getting these goddamn $1.25 McChickens and going and eating them. And then, so basically, You're like that guy that watches a movie, goes to the theater, watches the whole movie, doesn't like the movie, and wants his money back. You already had consumed those 3 sandwiches.
Most of it,
you already
yes.
consumed the most important parts of those 3 sandwiches.
Now,
who cares about the bun?
Now,
you ate the protein out of those 3 cocksuckers, and then you force your cousin, who's not, again, he's your friend, but he's also your cousin. He's doubling up. That's blood. Your blood runs through each other's veins. You force your relative who you love to go back through there, put him in the awkward, unenviable position of having you probably reach over across his lap, spit in your stinky breath, coming out of your stomach. Not after you ate those 3 fucking chicken patties you didn't.
Well, it might
have, and God knows what else would have been rotting around in that belly before you took down the chicken's patties. So all of that's boiling out from your teeth as you tell this woman, oh, I didn't get my sandwiches, even though you ate it.
And she knew,
because she was browbeaten and had a hard night, she was like, I'm not even going to argue with this weird little man. I'm going to give him his 3 fucking cheap sandwiches because it costs us 40 cents.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, it's like that. Her pocket's McDonald's.
And you have no problem with that. You felt okay with that entire transaction. You happily sat there chewing down the other 3 sandwiches that night with not feeling bad at all, not feeling like an entitled brat at all.
No, she threw some sass at. She says, well, make sure you say plain next time.
Oh, did you say plain
Absolutely.
before, Joe?
I always say plain because I can't have sauce on my sandwiches.
Do you know that she was probably sassy to you because of what you handed her?
Sure.
Yeah, because she probably recognized what you had done. And she chose to not fight you on that. So you couldn't just be thankful that, hey, take some sass and 3 free chicken sandwiches.
Mm. And also, I didn't drive at that time, so I didn't realize what a pain it would be to get off the highway. So then I am sorry for that.
Oh,
because I didn't realize that was a pain.
It was one bad choice after another.
Yeah.
This entire exchange was one bad choice after another. I understand when you order the food and you ask for it the way it is, you expect it. I get that, Joe. I get the frustration. What you do in that situation is you don't eat the 3 fucking chicken patties first and then throw this nasty bag of shit at this woman and, make her have to give you 3 more sandwiches. That was the asshole moment. It's not that you got the wrong sandwiches and you wanted the right sandwiches. The asshole moment was you eating the 3 patties and then throwing that bag of filth back at her and demanding 3 when you ate the fucking chicken out of it. You were okay with it.
No, I understand that. It's just I don't care.
Okay, so
okay, Joe.
I have a I don't know what they call this, like a sister story to go along with this. Joe does get very upset when he gets the wrong order. And I want to get to the bottom of this. Maybe Tad can help us. I'm just going to say up front what I think it is. Joe, do you fundamentally have an issue with wait staff, people that are giving you your food, and you have this expectation that it should be exactly what I said, and if not, I will make sure that they know that, and I want to hurt them. Because that's what I think it is. Because we went to our grottos, and you were so fussy about the whole experience. I believe it was you, me, Maddie, and maybe somebody else. And because you're like, I don't like going to our grottos because they don't just have barbecue chicken pizza. They have barbecue chicken pizza with regular marinara sauce or pizza sauce or whatever it is. Well,
exactly.
Well, there's 2 things here, Joe. There's the base sauce, which we discovered is pizza sauce, but they also mix in barbecue sauce with it.
It's 2 types of sauces.
And the chicken is tossed in it. So you were so fussy about it. We're like, what does it fucking matter? Ask the lady. You ask the lady. So which is it? You did not specify.
I shouldn't have to. I mean, it's on
No, you do have to specify. You just said, is it barbecue chicken pizza or is it barbecue chicken pizza? And she's like, what? And you're like, is it just barbecue sauce on the chicken? And she said, yes. I remember it specifically. You said, is it barbecue chicken or is it barbecue sauce on the chicken? Because yes, the chicken was covered in barbecue sauce. And yes, there is barbecue sauce in it, but there is also a light base of tomato sauce.
It's pizza with barbecue sauce on top. That's not barbecue.
The barbecue sauce
pizza.
Was not on top. There's not barbecue sauce drizzled on top. It's not like with a brush painted on top. It's underneath the cheese with the pizza sauce, and the chicken is tossed in it. I have bought that pizza 100,000 fucking times. I know. And so, because you didn't get the specifics, you gave her so much lip service. You were so rude
Joseph.
to the server. not the fucking cook. And I understand that in your head, you asked the most brilliant of brilliant questions. Is it true a barbecue sauce on this pizza? Is it just the barbecue sauce on the chicken? Is it the barbecue sauce under the cheese?
Joe is
there
demanding to speak to
marinara sauce?
Ratatouille.
Yeah.
But really, you just said, is the chicken tossed in the barbecue sauce?
Well, I don't know.
And you were so rude to this poor lady.
I don't recall that.
And so
Joe, I'm gonna say, you're in the wrong. You're being
No,
a
that's
dickhead.
fine. That's fine.
thank you,
but-
Tad. Thank you.
You should, if it's barbecue. Not everyone is like fucking Pizza Hut or whatever. Or they use barbecue sauce. It's a pizza, Joe. What comes out of pizza? Not fucking barbecue sauce. It's pizza
No, but
sauce.
I've got it the other way, too. I've got it where it's delicious barbecue all throughout the thing. So they have two separate things they serve.
So what's this? What is your interpretation of those events?
Oh, well, no, I think I'm iffy with food probably just because I had to clean my plate as a kid. You had to eat what was there. So now I'm ultra picky as a kid, and I just want my food how I like it because I'm not doing that anymore.
Joe, in your version of events, is this waitress going to be walking up in like full Nazi memorabilia,
Maybe,
throwing
maybe.
a menu at you like a fucking ninja star?
Maybe.
So
I don't know.
wait a second, Joe. Hold on. Ryan, you're the smarter man here. Please pick into this because I heard you groan or question it too. So, Joe, when you were a child, your parents made you clean your plate.
Oh, yeah.
They served you a dish. You had no say in the amounts of anything, and they said clean it.
Maybe minor say, but no. I definitely had to eat just whatever was there.
Or just go hungry.
Yeah.
So your parents, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong that they did this. You know, it probably there is a connection there with your weight, but I will say that your parents aren't feeding you anymore. So why are you getting mad at these people?
Well, I have no idea. Just in the subconscious, I think. I don't know.
Joe finally, for the first time, this is the only time it happens in his life, he has someone who's subservient to him, and it immediately goes to his head.
No, I don't believe it's that.
Oh, this breaks. And again, I think this might have been talked about in the last episode, the one that got messed
The
up.
secret
But
one.
it also comes down to Joe just in general has a lack of empathy for other
Yes.
people because he has very few life experiences. So he
Or
doesn't
Asperger's,
know.
we don't know.
He doesn't know what it's like to be that woman, that 68-year-old woman on a rough night working at McDonald's. He doesn't know what it's like to be the server at a place as popular as Our Grotto's on a weekend night, and you got all kinds of people there drinking and being loud and this and this and this. He doesn't, so his approach to things doesn't come from a place necessarily of, well, it
doesn't come from malice. It just comes from being a dumb shit.
Tad breaking it down.
Just too dumb to talk and breathe at the same time.
I agree with that, where it's like I think Joe just has he pictures things differently. He's like, okay, you're getting paid to he's the kind of guy, and this is the most damning evil thing I'm ever gonna say about you.
Okay.
Are you the kind of person, if God forbid you ever had to go fucking grocery shopping, would you leave the cart or would you return it to the corral?
I mean, I normally don't buy enough to even take a cart, so I'm...
Well, let's say in this
it doesn't matter for the sake of the Tad's question.
let's say I sent you to Walmart to buy me 4 watermelons. You can't carry those. You have to put them in a cart.
The bags or whatever.
Okay. Now, all right, you got 3 options, Joe, and there's only one correct one, and God help you if you choose the wrong one. So the cart's right next to your car. Do you leave it there? Do you park it on like the little tree stand, or do you take it back to the corral? Joe, you know the correct answer.
No, I would normally take it to the thing or whatever.
Okay. So that's how we know that Joe
That's how I get the quarter back.
He's capable of empathy sometimes.
Yeah, and so I thought when he started working at the movie theater, and he was dealing with customers, and he was dealing with, he was doling out concessions and et cetera. And that's why I would always ask him, hey, tell me, because I was very interested in how he would react in that professional setting, dealing with people that he was serving, and they might have complaints toward him. And I would ask him every time, hey, how was work? Do you have any stories? Has anyone been mad at you? Is anybody, because I'd worked retail, a million goddamn jobs, as we talked about in the one episode, and I've seen it all. And so I know that at some point Joe was going to have a trouble customer. And I was so looking forward to hearing how he handled it. Did he internalize it? Did it upset him? Did he not care about it? And Joe's response always to me was whenever he dealt with a difficult customer, he didn't care because they were beneath him and they were lower than him.
No, it's not that. It's that
They're just a fat idiot that just wants more sludge on their popcorn. Fuck them.
No,
They're
that
going
is
to
how
see
you describe
Fast and
them.
Furious
Yeah,
12.
no,
They're
what
idiots. Fuck
it
them.
is you just completely ignore them and then you say, oh, well, I'll get a manager because I get paid $7. I don't
no,
care.
that's not what he's. That Ryan is specifically talking about your reaction to them in general. The way you talked about customers outside of work is that you treat them like corralled animals.
Yeah.
And so you just reinforce that by what you just said.
Sure,
And
that's fine.
poor Taz over here trying to defend you and be like, he does have some empathy. And then you're like, I don't have to deal with any of this fucking shit. Get the manager.
Yeah. It's kind of like what's going on right now. I mean, people do behave like cage animals, and the planet will probably need to be put down at some point.
So
that's okay.
You lead
Are
by
you saying
example.
it's your job, Joe?
No, I don't care. I don't care about anything.
Very cool. I went with Joe to Shrek Fest.
Oh, yeah.
Me, Joe, my roommate, and my roommate's friend, we all drove to some podunk town in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
To go to Shrek Fest.
Just so Joe could fuck a donkey.
Ow! I did not want to fuck the donkey, the real life donkey from the movie.
Now, Joe was actually relatively well behaved at Shrek Fest. I was very surprised. He had his camera. He would ask people like, "Hey, is it okay if I take a picture with you?" You know, he was being respectable.
Yeah.
And then he saw that they had a fucking slushy car, and you would buy the cup, and then you could fill it up with whatever you wanted. So Joe's eyes lit up like a fucking cartoon animal.
You're like a wolf who just saw a hot lady and they go, woo,
Yeah.
woo, woo, woo.
A wooga starts
Yeah.
hitting himself with a hammer.
Yeah.
So he goes over there, and he gets the biggest cup imaginable, and he fills it with 90% slushy liquid, and then puts the ice on top of it. And he's looking at me. He's looking like the fucking cat that got the mouse or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the ice disappears.
Oh,
and
and I realized,
I made
this is
him.
a bad idea.
He had to drink. I told him, I will never let you live this down unless you drink at least 30% of this slush liquid. This fucking sour poison.
Mostly just syrup. Yeah, it was mostly just drinking syrup.
Yeah, so these are the like long-term thinking skills that Joe has.
Oh yeah. And to add to that slushy story, when we were making Butcher the Bakers, one of the nights we did a night shoot, and we were wrapping up for the night, and it was just before dawn. It was maybe 4:00 in the morning. Joe and I went to the gas station, and he wanted to take one of the tanker cups or whatever, the 64 ounce, whatever
biggest
the bigger
plastic cup they had. Yeah.
However, you're at this gas station, they have a sign up that says that is the big cups are not for the slush. Slush has a separate price point for the 3 slush cups. And Joe was like, "No, I'm gonna fill up the 64 ounce thing with slush. They're not gonna know. The guy at the counter's not gonna know. Fuck them."
Was it clear plastic or was it styrofoam?
They had 2 separate things.
It was styrofoam. It was
Okay,
styrofoam.
so you know what? All right, I'm gonna say right now at this moment, Joe's playing the smart angle here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand. Yeah, but there was also a police officer in that gas station.
Yeah, there was.
I remember this.
There was.
Listen, okay, I'm still gonna say this right now. I can see Joe's point of view. He's like, is he really gonna arrest me over a fucking slush? Fuck him, pig. You know, I can see Joe's mind. I can see his process. I can see what's churning in his little tiny gears.
Well, I don't know if something's changed, but his process was a lot of fretting, a lot of worrying, a lot of debating back and forth. Because I went and I got whatever snack, and I was ready to go. And Joe was still debating whether he should do it or not because there was a police officer there. The only reason there was a police officer there is because he was there for security at that time of night, whatever. The police officer was not there to enforce any slushy law, but Joe got worried. He didn't say, "Oh, fuck that guy." He was like, well, blah, 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 blah. And I ended up half talking him into doing it just so we could go. I'm like, "Joe, you're going to be fine. Flip the slushy thing. Worst thing the guy's going to do is he's going to charge you. He's going to say, 'Sorry, bro. No thanks.' And he's going to charge you for, slushy is what he's going to do. But he's probably not going to do anything." But Joe was real concerned.
Well, listen,
because there was real authority in that place. There was a police officer, and in Joe's mind, he was committing fraud.
No.
No, hold on. I'm going to stop you first. No jokes. Take this seriously. You're trying to do a bit right now. I know it's coming. You say the truth. You say what you were feeling in that moment, and you confirm what Ryan just said, basically.
No, the problem with it was I was worried that it would be some cop on some power-tripping little trip of his, and the guy could potentially have a problem after that. So that's why I didn't want to do it, because these disgusting police. But other than that...
That's not how you were playing it. That's not how you were acting. You were honestly acting worried.
Well, I was worried that there would be consequences because of this cop.
You weren't like, "Oh, this guy's probably might be on a power trip and he's gonna blah, 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 blah." No, you thought you were doing something wrong, and that this cop was gonna call you on it, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Joe, you must
I
have
saw
looked
genuine fear.
You must have looked so much worse, pacing back and forth through the store, left and right, like going
going
over
in
to
a
the
circle.
electronics and back.
And I got my beef jerky, wherever the hell, combos, whatever the hell I was buying.
Yeah, and I just decided to
And,
get
you know,
64
come
ounces
on,
of sugar
Joe.
at 4 a.m.
And then he ended up getting a slushie. We ended up going back to the shelter and watching the Beyond.
Oh
and
yeah,
everything
yeah,
was
that was
fine.
good. That was
The
good.
only way
Good
that Joe
times.
could fall asleep is if he puts himself into diabetic shock.
Yeah.
So that brings up a point that I kind of wanted to say is in a change in Joe. Do you see a difference in the Joe Buckley that you knew before he hooked up with
Yes.
everybody on Grace's Room, and over the years henceforth, have you seen a change in Joe on a personal level?
Yes. All right. Let me say this right now. There was a point in time, a large point in time, in which Joe was a sweet little boy. He was nice. He was very polite. He didn't say bad words just to get attention because Henry Zabrowski on Last Podcast on the Left does it. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Joe. Yeah.
Thank you,
just
Tad.
copying what he does. So you get the quick laughs, the quick and dirty ones. Once he did the movie stuff, that he started doing all his podcasts, he's like, oh, I can't think of a joke right now. What can I say that's crude that'll get me a laugh? And I'll admit, I'm partially to blame for this because seeing Joe in his innocent little demeanor, and he just says something atrocious, like, son of a bitch, it gets a laugh out of me.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And
know
they
that.
took that as positive affirmation.
So
Joe can
We've
be
done it too.
funny as
We've
hell.
done it too.
You just got to stop saying dick.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Tad. I remember vividly while making Butcher the Bakers, many late nights, we would have to rehearse lines with Joe before every scene. And so usually he rode with me because at that time he wasn't driving. And so him and whoever else was in the car, usually me or my girlfriend, would run lines with Joe. And then when we would get done, we felt comfortable about it. We would just goof with Joe. And some of the funniest stuff was saying, Joe, G-rated commercial, 30 seconds, sell me a steak. And we would be howling with laughter. Because putting constraints on Joe made him funnier. And I'm not saying that because I don't want you to say bad things. But Tad is absolutely right. You sit there and you listen to Ron and Fez, Last Podcast on the Left, whatever other things you like that are similar in either crassness or in your face or edgy. And then I think Tad hit the nail on the head. You found a group of people who don't listen to any of that stuff, and you said, look at this, like lambs to the slaughter. I am going to disseminate all of these bits that I had nothing to do with, that are only, it's just shit that I like and have taken in, and I'm going to, what in my mouth will now come out my ass, and we'll see if it sticks. And it has not stuck, Joe. Stop, please. Go back to do wacky bits. You don't have to do G-rated steak commercials, but I fully agree with Tad. Here's
what you gotta
that
do,
can
Joe.
be your guys' opinion. That's
You
good.
because you've done it. You were very funny on the Real Talk on the radio. Pretend you're on the Real Talk, and that if you get it wrong, someone's gonna fucking stab you. They're gonna fucking put a nail in your butt.
No, but
okay?
Real Talk is definitely not even close to the funniest I've been.
I know,
or can
but
be.
you can be.
No, you can't.
can be
You literally
very
can't.
Joe. You can be very, very funny. I know that because you are a very funny little boy. You just got to stop saying penis.
No, I mean, because you can tell because there's an hour of proof that you can't be.
No,
From
Joe,
Real
that
Talk.
is wrong.
It is.
You can be funny.
What do you mean real talk? From Real Talk? What are you saying? Proof that you're not funny?
then- No,
Not
it's
as
proof.
funny as whenever I can say anything.
That's in the eyes
Listen,
of the
Joe,
beholder.
I'm
man.
gonna-
There's
that's an
plenty of stuff on
opinion, yeah.
Real Talk that is funny because there are a lot of people that are not impressed, and it's people that have heard it all that are not impressed with you yelling about your pee-pee hurting.
Yeah.
But see,
You know,
that could be
all
funny.
the time.
That could absolutely be funny.
It can be.
Yeah.
You
But
were at my house, Joe.
you are better than that.
You were at my house and you were delivering some bits, and you were just rattling them off the cuff. And I'm like, Joe, listen, that bit you just said, really funny. Just cut off the last bit where you added, and their ball hair. It's like, if you just take that off the joke, it's still funny. It worked, Joe.
Tad,
just clear
Tad
it off.
is can't remember the name of the dude that was the first person to go to the Antarctic and start exploring it. I'm gonna get air horn so bad with that.
No.
And we are opening up some cores here. And I think I need this in this episode. I need this.
We are
Tad
entering the
and
mountains of
Ryan,
madness.
Please get to the bottom of this. Joe, I would love to get to Joe Buckley 2.0 or 3.0. If this is 2.0, I want 3.0. There were some bugs that came up in this new system. Joe, you are very funny in more than one way, and you need to acknowledge that. I think that while we may have affirmed some things, like as Tad pointed out, I think we brought you to a larger audience. I'm talking all of us, Tad especially, with let me tell you about his 18,000 subscribers, and then with the movies and all that stuff, some more of a local level than the online community that Tad has.
Big fish in a little pond.
Yes. And I think that you chose to cling to like those fish that suck on the bottom of the shark.
Well, the mudfish.
You chose to suck on the people who were attracted to the filthy side. And the rest of us, the core people who will bring you it to the microphone. Because the big issue we had about a month ago was you made some comments about how you thought the amount of work that you contribute to the podcast is equivalent to everything else that everybody else does.
No, I didn't say that. I said I do some work.
I don't think that's
how I remember the conversation at the very
I don't
least.
think that's how it was, Joe.
Yeah, because I remember you saying that it's no work at all to be funny on
Joe,
microphone.
If you can't even remember how you ordered McChickens, I
remember how I ordered the McChickens.
By changing up a few things that you do, you could blossom. You could blossom. You could finally hit comedic puberty and really grow into something. But if you just keep regurgitating stuff that you've heard before, and I'm not saying that you don't change it up, but if you just take shit that other people do and you just kind of grind it up, it's a different kind of meat because of all the amalgamations of shit you put in there. It's still the same bad patty.
Joe Bologna.
Yes. Don't give us the chicken patty with the mayo and the lettuce. Give us the chicken patty plain, straight buck.
Well, no,
I yield my time.
No, I mean, I think the only issue I had whenever we were talking about that is just because you said, like, being on mic is no work, and that's the only thing I took. I 100% realize you put in much, much more time than me or anyone else. Because I won't have an argument with that. That's 100% the truth.
I know it takes work to get out of bed and come here and talk into a microphone.
Oh, sure.
So in the juxtaposition of what other people are contributing, what you do is the equivalent of zero work, because you don't come here and you strain, you don't sweat over talking, while other people are doing things that does cause them to sweat and not make money.
Well, yeah, it's just the effort of being funny, yes.
The only kind of sweat Joe got is the meat sweats.
Yeah.
So
me and Ryan are going to be exploring the Antarctic. We're going to be finding the mountains of madness.
And I'll be
these
fucking
giant,
a penguin.
There we go.
These giant weird penguins that just keep saying, "Oh, Joe, oh, magic."
Yeah, but see, saying "fuck" there was funny. And
Joe,
I gotta laugh.
Joe, if you speak one more time during this allotted time, I will throw this coaster at you.
Well, I can take a coaster hit. That's,
Joe.
No, I understand
well,
that.
we'll get that belt out.
Anyways, all right, Ryan. So,
just to add to what Tyler was saying, and maybe you're familiar, maybe you know about this, maybe I'm sure you know about this. During the making of Butcher the Bakers, there were cast members and there were people on all sides, in front of the camera, behind the camera, that doubted you, that doubted your character, that doubted you in the movie, period. And we were, and as the movie progressed, you were getting more bits. It was so there.
Yeah. We had stuff just workshopped into the movie.
There were people on all sides that were like, is this character, is this going to be a grading character? Is this going to be, people might be on board with the movie until the Joe character comes in. And even Tyler, to me, one-on-one came to me and asked, do you think we're going too far with Joe? And I've always been in the Joe camp. I've been firmly entrenched in the Joe camp since day one. And I don't consider this an insult or a joke when I said you were our Ernest. Because I respect the hell out of Jim Varney and the Ernest character. I think it's a brilliant character. The movies didn't always work, especially when you got into the low budget stuff. But Jim Varney was an incredible actor, and Ernest is a great creation of a character in pop culture. And I was like, I think Joe is weird enough and strange enough, and I haven't seen anything like him before. He could definitely be our Ernest. We're going to have to edit him. We're going to have to work with him. We're going to have to do this and this, especially with Benevolent Buckley show, because then all of a sudden there's this whole show wrapped around Joe Buckley. And it was one of these, is this really all of this time and all this effort, is it going to land when it's all wrapped around this character that it could be very hit or miss, that could be very love him or hate him. And again, I stand firmly in the Joe camp. So,
well, that's good. That's good. Thank you, Ryan.
Where I stand on the Joe. So I get that. I get
what
I'm saying is I see a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential that's not going to be mined if you keep going back to the same well. And I understand the copying people and that stuff. That's what we all did when we were first starting out. I can tell you this. My very first feature-length script I ever wrote when I was 16 years old, 120 pages. It was my magnum opus at the time. It is a Tarantino knockoff from top to bottom, from cuffs to tails. The entire thing is a 17-year-old kid with no life experience just trying to write like his hero. And that's okay because I was early on. And even the first couple of years doing stuff, even as an actor, my mom was obsessed with Al Pacino. I would try to mimic his mannerisms and try and copy him because that's how you learn at first. Mimicry is how you learn because even if it's unconscious, because those are your big influences. So your influences are these guys who like to spew out, edgy stuff, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah.
just kind of like off-the-cuff comedians.
So the off-the-cuff, real quick, because Joe has gotten quicker. So even when we were little, I always knew Joe has untapped potential. I'm like, Joe is really funny. He's got a lot going for him. This is back in the clean Joe era. The Joe where he wouldn't say balls in front of grandma or he'd get slapped. This was the Joe he had a type of humor that I'm like, I get it. I see it, Joe. I can see it in my mind's eye. If you need to think of something really, really quick and you don't want your bits to fall, you go for the gross. You go for, here's my mind. My mind went here, and then I'm not sure if this joke will land. So to hedge my bets, I'm gonna add in pussy. Yeah, I'm Joe.
It's like the shotgun approach. It's like he doesn't want to miss a moment, so he'll fire at every single thing, hoping that it will hit.
Yeah. So I think Joe, I would be willing. Me and you, they have improv classes at IVCC. They have it in the Continuing Education Center. Me and you, Joe. We can do this.
What is the cost? I'll pay for it.
It's like $75.
I'll pay it.
Something.
Yeah, Ivy's cheap.
I will pay it. Even if it was $700, I would fucking pay it.
Yeah,
I'm not
it
even
is
joking.
Continuing Education. They do it at the Ottawa Center. I think you might have to go to Oglesby, but that's fine. You have a car now. You have no excuse.
Yeah, I can go play Magic with the people who hang out in the lunchroom.
Yeah, I don't know if Joe's ever told you about those. There's people at that college.
He's mentioned them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's just say
8
you
to
can
12
smell
hours a
them
day in
before
the
you see them.
lunchroom. Yeah.
Joe, I want to compliment you first.
Okay.
You are handling this incredibly well.
Well, that's good.
And so I am going to give you a hand.
Yeah.
And this isn't mocking. This is legitimate.
Yeah, sure.
Secondly, will you do this with Tad?
I don't know. I can give you a yes or a no.
Because Joe, I think that these improv classes, Joe, will open you up because you're quick. You can pick up a bit and you can do it. Your execution isn't always correct, but improv is about expanding your mind, about being able to pull. Because we have pools that we pull from. Like when I'm doing quick off the bit stuff, when I do it on my podcast, it's me and my friend Alex, and we both have a shared pool of weird internet knowledge. So I'll pull something obscure like that. Like I'll say, I'll reference that video of the guy playing Mario 64 where he creates parallel dimensions and shit.
Half A button presses.
Yeah. I'll say something really quick. First thing in my mind, backwards long jumping into a QPU, yada, yada, yada. These improv classes will expand you to have different pools that you can pull from. Like, okay, I'm making a joke really, really quick about someone falling off of a building. I'm like, okay, I got pool 1, which is like, it's superhero stuff. Pool 2, which is everyday things. Pool 3, whatever, These classes will help you boop, 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 look through there like the fucking Terminator where he's darting his eyes around, pick the correct one, then apply it, and then you get your goofs without having to say balls.
Yeah,
and get slapped by grandma.
And
yeah, but see, I in my case, I would just say, yeah, fuck grandma. I'll say balls.
But you're going to learn
here's
other
the thing,
ways
Joe,
to do that.
You might not realize this. You know who brought improv to IVCC?
Who's that?
Myself, Doug Kotecki, and Sean Walsh.
Oh, okay.
There was no improv teams. There was no improv theater group. There was nothing going on. And my friend Doug Kotecki, he was big into this. He gave me a book. He's like, in Second City, he said, we're going to start doing an improv group. And Sean Walsh was part of it. And we used to play out all over the Illinois Valley. We did improv at the Ninth Street Pub, man. I mean, we did improv there. We did improv at, it was called the Lounge. It's not the Lounge anymore. I don't even know what it is now. I mean, we did improv all over town to raise money to put on our plays in the summer, where we did Suburbia by Eric Bogosian, so we could put on the adult plays, the more
something that wasn't like To Kill a Mockingbird or something.
Yeah, so we could do that, so we would have another opportunity. We had to raise the money, so that's what we did. So improv, and then I trained for 6 months at Improv Olympic in Chicago when I was going to Columbia, or IO as it's called now, because I got sued by the Olympics. So I would also say, if you can get your hands on, you could probably do it on, it's called The Truth in Comedy. It's co-written by Del Close and Sharna Halpern. You can probably get it on Amazon. It's the book they give you when you train at IO. It's going to be mostly about what they call the Herald, which is the long form 20-minute improv. But regardless, there are so many good tidbits of information about how to do improv in that book. If you were serious about doing this, on top of taking classes and stuff, if you're really serious about this and learning that improv is not about being funny. And you may think, well, it's improv comedy. Yes, but it's not about being funny. The comedy comes from the execution of the art form. The comedy comes from doing it well. The audience will laugh with you. You don't always have to have a joke or a bit for it to be funny for the audience. If you are true to the character and the yes and all the things you learn through the various games and stuff, if you're true to it, it will be funny. And I think, Joe, between the way you look and your voice, the way your voice sounds, and this is not insult, but the way you look and the way your voice sounds, and if you could get even a little bit good at improv, I think you'd be phenomenal.
And to touch on that, not to further what could be perceived as an insult, but you very much look like a Jim Varney Ernest character. The bowl cut, the glasses.
Well, Andy Milonakis or whatever.
Milonakis.
Yeah, Andy Milonakis, yeah.
Okay, so that he's whatever that is, where you look more youthful than you actually are. I mean,
he just had a boy body and he was 300
yeah,
pounds.
he's like 50. He made use of that. So you've got the potential here, Joe, to do something with that. So your current form of practice with comedy is to sit down with the people in the immediate vicinity, our group, Tad, and try out bits that I can't help but assume are distilled from things you just heard that day, that week, that month. So why not go somewhere where it's about building a story and doing something with it? And to call back specifically to I hope this was on a podcast that we actually released. The story of you breaking the table during Butcher the Baker's. Was that released already?
I can't remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ted remembers it. I would love it if I could go back to that moment and there's a version of you that didn't intentionally break the table, walk away, and we had to solve the problem, but said, you know what I think my character is? He's a fucking klutz. He's an idiot. He comes from the fingernail of a dead clown or whatever. So, or of drag. I can't fucking remember where
it was the clown.
Yeah. And so I think that I should fall into this table. I think I got to go down with this thing, but I still have to be the heart of that moment and get us out of the scene, because that is what made that scene great, was the exit. And that was not written. None of that was written. We wrote that in the moment after you accidentally broke that table.
Yes.
I would love it if that came from you, like whole cloth from your brain. You decided that's where your character should go, as opposed to you actually breaking a table because you don't know your own strength and weight.
I accidentally tried to lean on it,
and then leaving the room while we try to solve this problem.
I was nervous.
And I cash app or write a check to this guy for the table.
Okay, I'll tell you right now, one of the funniest moments I ever had with Joe, we went over, he was editing Sit Boys, which, man, that was a nightmare and a half. Just me and him trying to edit it, because we would, number one, it's pretty fucking hard.
Just not the technical aspects, or
we were really dumb at how we did it, and
I
how
had hit film, I believe. I don't know.
Oh,
no,
you
were using
softwares?
Vegas. He was using Vegas, but we had like 5 different takes for every scene, unlabeled, of course. God forbid. 5 different audio takes, unlabeled. God
and
forbid.
I had to try to piece these together after the fact.
Yeah, but
and it takes a lot of patience, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
But he did go through.
Absolutely.
He did get it all.
Good
I helped
for you.
edit like a couple scenes, but he did that, and I remember I walked into the room. He turned on this LED light in his room, and the sound it made sounded like I was entering the Toy Box serial killer's room, because it was
Yeah, I've got a broken LED.
and it struck me, Joe standing there holding, I think he was just holding like a sandwich, with that noise in that dimly lit room broke something inside of me, and I couldn't stop laughing for about 10 minutes. That's the kind of energy that you need, Joe. That's what you got to capture.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just bring a broken light onto the stage, yeah.
Well, but it takes practice, Joe. It's going to take practice.
It's a tool.
I want to dig in a little deeper now. Now we got that, and and this is fantastic. And this, for anybody that listens is like, oh, it's a podcast about Joe hating Joe. Couldn't be the fucking opposite.
It's a podcast. Every episode will start with some funny topic, and then it just turns into trying to fix Joe. We're trying to give this man a brain.
Joe is a caterpillar, and we're trying to force him into the cocoon. He refuses to get in it.
Wait, I just want to be long and hairy. What's wrong with that?
We want him to be a beautiful butterfly, but he refuses to go through the metamorphosis process. And we're gonna try our best. And we tried.
I just want to eat aphids and masturbate, yo.
we used force. Now we're gonna use the gentle the gentle hands of Ryan to learn you through this process. So sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, and that was a great. The whole thing answered my question about the changes you've seen in Joe since he started doing the movies and everything. And Joe, in some of these things, I'm going to ask Tad. Not that you can't jump in, of course. I'm not telling you can do.
But give me a goddamn second, Joe.
But
No,
you got to
I get
give
that.
Tad time to talk about this, because I'm not looking for bits. If Tad can tell it in a humorous way, that's great. If he can just give me the info, that's great too.
Okay.
Trying to have a conversation.
Sure.
So, Tad, in your opinion, what do you think about Joe's living situation?
So I'll give you my living situation to compare and contrast. So
Okay.
I haven't paid rent since May of last year.
Of
2019?
Yeah, but
Wow.
there's a reason for that. So Joe does it because it's his parents' house. I do it because my house is there's a split cleaning duty. Let's just say that one side does a lot more cleaning than the other side, and then there's a compromise in between there.
Gotcha.
I'll pay utilities, and I'll pay rent sometimes. But compared to that, Joe's got aces because he lives at home. Listen, I'll tell you right now, if I could live at home, I'd probably still do it. Not gonna lie, it's like a nice thing.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Well,
I don't think Joe.
Hold on. What would you, I think that there's differences in why you would each do that. So why would you still live at home, Tad?
Because then I could not spend money, and let me just say this: for a short while, when I lived at home, then I moved out when my mom moved to like Wisconsin for a bit. I moved in with a roommate somewhere. It was kind of nice, whatever. After that, I moved with that same roommate because we had to move out. We moved to his mom's house, and I got that. So I had like a good 2-year gap between living with like a parent. Let me just say, like, coming home and like someone made dinner is like kind of really great, as opposed to coming home and having to like make yourself some hamburger helper. Now I know that traditionally, yes, you're supposed to be out on your own, living it up in the big city with Joe here in his little 1-bedroom studio or whatever.
Yeah, I should be paying $18,000 in rent a month at New York.
Yeah, like now in a good society where you had a job, Joe, and you were like, fine, then I'd say, yeah, move out, Joe. You got no reason to keep staying at home. But currently, I think Joe's fine enough. Like I won't throw any shade at him for still living at home.
Because I mean, I had a minimum wage job for about 2 years, and there was absolutely no way I could have made rent on that. Anyway,
you could have, but you'd
I wouldn't have any money for food, so that would be it. That would be done.
I've done the math, and you can do it, but it's like it's not like great living.
Well, I was making about $200 to $300 every 2 weeks there, and you times that, that's $600 at the absolute most. That's rent right there. So it's not doable.
So we could, but me and you we're spoiled children who are used to a higher quality of life.
Yes, I do need to eat and drink water.
You don't drink water. You call it sky piss.
Yeah, I need to drink Mountain Dew.
There's other jobs, Joe. There are other jobs, Joe, if you really wanted to.
No, there are. Most of them minimum wage, but
there
there
are other jobs that you could absolutely get.
Yeah, sure.
Tyler makes commercials for a company that I'm sure would hire you.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just saying.
That here,
minimum
Joe,
wage job.
Your situation stems directly from the fact that you just don't want to work. Like that's why you live at home. That's why you do all these things. You can say that it's because Mom washes my clothes, Mom makes my meals, or at least buys the chicken that I put in the microwave. You can say all those things, but it's specifically because you just don't want to work.
Well,
and
yeah.
We have begged you to pursue projects in the vein of malevolent movies or private podcasting or with Tad. And your excuse is always, I don't want to do it by myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I refuse to do something solo.
But you have something that most people don't have. You have hundreds, possibly thousands of people who want to consume shit you create. Most people are creating something for nobody else but themselves, and that is much harder. So you sit there and you claim this is so difficult, but it's like, dude, get that microphone, Mr. Off the Cuff. You have the audience, go after it. And I have told you since we started spending almost every day together, I'm like, dude, pursue this so you don't have to work a minimum wage job. You could still live at home, but you could be making income by doing something that you actually like to do.
Yeah,
I get that.
Here's what I did, Joe, to survive.
I get that, but I don't do it.
No, I just want somebody to also do it with. I don't want to be on mic alone. I have no interest in it. I don't think it's funny.
You can do that. But who set up the man with no brain? Who did the legwork here?
Oh, it was your and Ryan's idea, yes.
Look at me, Joe. How many podcasts have I started and went, this sucks, and thrown it away? I've done like 7.
Yeah.
No, I host them all on the same channel, and then once I got bored of them, I just kind of quietly
Yeah.
put them in the
Best
no-no
Boys,
box.
Let's throw this in the trash.
Now, I'll say this, too, about Best Boys. So we did, the most recent one we did on a very, very influential anime. I'm not an anime fan. Joe's
I'm
not an anime fan.
No.
But this was like an exception because it
Yeah,
was just
very,
so
very high quality.
so important. And we recorded it, and then Joe wanted it to go out there, but like I scrubbed it. I'm like, okay, let's try this again, because we kept doing. We did it, I think, 3 or 4 times before we were finally happy enough with how we covered it, that Joe and I were like, okay, this is good. Let's actually do this now. So once you get going on a project, Joe, then you'll like Sit Boys took how many hours? It was a 48-minute long video that we then cut like 10 minutes off.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
But
it's easily probably 100 hours of editing, which is my issue with editing, which is why I don't like to do it.
You're there doing that work. You may not like it, but you learn it so you can get the end product that you want. So it's like you can either hire somebody else to do that, but that means paying them, or you can team up with people. Let's say maybe you meet them at an improv class who likes to edit, and then the two of you start working together, and they do the editing, you do the marketing and the getting people pumped up for every show on social media, and you find a way to work together. That almost sounds like Joe, do you want to sign up for that improv class?
I still have not decided yet.
You know, for my side of it, I do want to talk to Joe as a human being, even if each episode I get 5 minutes of real Joe per episode. I do want to, delve deep into Joe because I'm fascinated with Joe. I'm fascinated by Joe.
I picture this podcast in my mind as Joe sitting on like a metal operating table. You know, his head is cut open with a circular saw, and it's just on like a hinge. Like, just, you got the tiny little peanut brain in there, and you got a rotating cast of doctors with magnifying glasses looking at it and like poking it with sticks, trying to figure out how does this man
matter
survive?
how much we gas Joe, he won't fall asleep, and he keeps talking through the surgery.
Yeah, I keep screaming, ow, my pee-pee hurts, ow, my pee-pee hurts. You touch the pee-pee part of the brain. And I'm making the doctors laugh.
And then the doctor says, "Wait a minute, why does he keep saying that?" And I must be poking the bit part of the brain.
Oh, that
can't be that one. That one's all shriveled up and useless.
No, I've got plenty of good bits.
Like, do you think there is a codependency amongst Joe and his parents?
I think that his Uncle Bob, Joe's dad, he works at the local glass plant. I think it's called Pilkington, or it changes names every 5 years.
Yeah, because of the lawsuit. Somebody gets mangled, I bet, in glass.
So, like, they're fine. Like, financially, they're fine off. You know, where they live and everything like that. His mom, I think she works at an eye clinic, right?
Well, it's Grand Ridge. I mean, it's a town with 300 people. There's no there's no taxes or anything.
So, I mean,
fuck it.
From my experience with them, they don't mind that Joe's there, but they also don't. They're not pushing him out like get him. They're not pushing him out of his safety zone. And I kind of agree, because like Tyler was saying, like this is where the B names like spiral together in this downturn, like a plane crashing into the ground, where it's like, Joe, I would not, if I was in Joe's situation, I would not move out either.
No, absolutely not.
I don't begrudge him for it.
No.
Now, as the situation continues,
who knows, but
then you probably should.
Yeah. I mean, my opinion with it is I think, Tad, our generation is kind of fucked up the ass in terms of finances. There's no realistic way for us to get ahead or make a ton of money to pay for rent and shit. Like, you couldn't go live
You
in
could just sell
California
your
or something.
bathwater, Joe.
Yeah. Oh, I could. I could just start, like, just selling my body and peeing in a jug and selling it to my fans.
All right, I just walked down here. I'm already fired up from hearing what Joe just said.
Joe, I'm going to go ahead and say that, let's say that's true. For the sake of your argument, let's say it's true. Your generation, whatever generation this is, your generation's complete fucked. So you think you're just going to roll over and take it, and you're just going to give up and not do anything. That's what you basically say. Well, it's not worth it. I can't get ahead, so I'm not gonna try to get ahead.
Oh, sure.
Is that what you're saying?
Somewhat. Well, I have no idea. I just don't think there's much opportunity at all for almost anyone.
Here's what you got to do,
but
Joe.
You keep saying anyone or everyone. Like, dude, your life isn't about them. It's about you.
No, but all million of them are also actively trying for the same thing I am, so that's where they come into play.
I'm confused a little bit here, Joe. We're just talking about the simple idea of just
moving out,
getting out on your own, and what that does for a self-esteem.
Yeah. Well, I don't have enough money to do that, so that's not an option.
I understand that, but you can get money for that.
Yeah,
you can get
I can maybe get a better paying job that everyone else in this area is also trying to get, and there aren't really money of.
But you keep saying
We're not talking about. I know during COVID, Joe. I know COVID. We're
No,
not
during
talking,
any time. During any time.
No, not during any time. I know plenty of people with a third of your brain that have $20 an hour jobs at factories.
When I was looking for work, I worked at a call center for like 2 years, right? And now here's how I made it so that I didn't want to kill myself every day. So I found opportunities in that job. So number one thing I did was networking. I know a large group of people that, and yes, they are also large, but they are amateur wrestlers, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I know the amateur wrestling scene here.
So that is like, so the way that I made every job I've worked at, well, the very first job I didn't really care. I was a gas station guy, who gives a crap. But after that, every single job, I have made it worthwhile by networking through it, which networking is the number one most important way that you can find a job that you actually give a shit about.
For anything.
That's
just
enjoyable
getting in good with somebody who's already there. That's all you
how
have
I
to
got
do.
my current job, is I impressed somebody.
I had a mild interest in the insurance stuff. I was like, okay, I enjoy helping these people, explain their, I enjoy helping these elderly people who don't know what the hell's going on with their insurance. Like, okay, here's what you got to do. Here's the forms, yada, yada, yada. I kind of enjoyed that. But I noticed I had these moments of free time, and I would use them. I couldn't open up a notepad or anything, but I found a way to use my email drafts that I would send to myself to write podcast topics, to work on the thing I actually wanted to do while I was still making the money, while I was still networking. You have to find opportunities. Like when you're at the movie theater, are there people that you met there that you have to? I don't think you did this when you worked there.
Sure.
I think you just kind of did your job and then went the fuck home.
So he didn't socialize.
Yeah, which first job I worked
not
at.
for lack of trying.
Well,
I know
no,
you went to a couple work-sanctioned events.
No, I was friendly on terms with those people. The problem is it's a movie theater, so everybody there is 16 to 19. So it's not like there's big job opportunity there.
So just like with the first job for me where I worked at the gas station and
It's
they
nothing.
had a
You
constantly
can't do
cycling
anything.
group of people.
Yeah.
You could still make connections, you could still learn things from the people. But I do understand some jobs you just kind of there's not a lot there. But for you, Joe, right now there's tons and tons of opportunities right now for people because most people are like me and they're being slugs off of unemployment until the government kicks us off at the end of July. So you still have right now a golden opportunity to look at all these places, and they're so desperate for work they might just say, all right, sure.
Well, anybody with a pulse, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about finding a job because I can always go get another movie theater level job. I mean, that's...
You gotta schmooze,
Well, yeah, I gotta pull myself up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, when are you gonna start schmoozing us? Where's our schmooze?
Yeah.
I have said that you're nice people.
Yeah, you gotta
Joe doesn't know the
schmooze a
hustle,
little bit,
man.
Joe.
Joe doesn't know the hustle.
Yeah.
And that's something, Joe.
The hustle, yeah.
God bless you, Joe.
I do the hustle and
The
slide.
everything you've done creatively from 2014 to now came from one piece of hustle, one tiny little piece of hustle that your dad is responsible for. Hearing about River City, was it River City Panic the first thing you worked on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
River City Panic. Everything henceforth has been, you've been invited along. It's like, so most of the time,
Well,
it doesn't,
it's
most
like-
of the time though, things don't work that way. Things
No,
don't
I
work.
get that.
You got to
Yeah.
put, you got to put in the elbow grease. You got to put in the
I
hustle.
did good PA work on River City in terms of PA work is that you do what you're told and you try to help the film move along and
Exactly.
you do what's needed in that moment.
But
So that's good
did
PA
you see how
work.
it worked though? But did you see how it worked? How well it's worked out for you?
Oh, I get that, yeah.
That's the same thing can also happen in just a regular work environment.
And you had an opportunity there. The River City Panic crew, those are all Chicago-based guys who work in the industry. Like they are freelance guys. They work all the time. And I'm not saying that you blew it, you missed an opportunity, but like you could have talked with them just about the craft and love of making film and gotten to know them better and maintained a relationship with them. While I hate most of them because some of them were fucking assholes, that doesn't matter to me. I know that there are guys in our group that still communicate with them, and I don't have an issue with that. It's a hustle and bustle world out there. That's what you got to do. And so you could have talked with them, learned a few things, made a few connections, and they could have given you some pro tips on, hey, if you really want to do low-level PA work on like bigger stuff in Chicago, this is how you do it. you had opportunities, but you didn't take advantage of them. And I'm sure it was more the insecurity of leaving your house for the first time for a social engagement in a long time. But it's like...
Well, I mean, it's also just the fact that I couldn't go up to Chicago at that point because I didn't have a car and I had no plans on getting one.
But by virtue of having those conversations, getting excited about those things, you might have gotten the push to do that instead of screaming at you for 3 hours in my house in the middle of the night about how your whatever thing was going to lapse, your permit was going to lapse, and if you didn't get your license, she was going to disown you as a friend. And then guess what? 12 hours later, you had a fucking license.
See,
Well, yeah, people can be shamed into anything. That's the good part.
You think we have to hammer? This is what you have to do with Joe for sometimes we get positive. She screamed at him for 3 hours, but he did what needed to be done to better his life.
And we are glad you did. We're proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I passed up the opportunity to work where your dad works at, where you make like dummy amounts of money for decent work. Like I passed that up because I was like, I was like passive. I didn't want to do it. Think about it now. Goddamn, really wish I did. But that's the past.
Well, I mean, you make a lot of money there, but it's backbreaking work. You move plates of glass. So, I mean, that's why he could possibly get me in there, but I don't have interest in that because I don't want to end up with rheumatism at 40.
But maybe, Joe, here's the thing, Joe, and I've heard this argument. I've done this, argument. I've been in your shoes saying the same thing. Nobody's asking you to do it for life.
No, you just do it for 5 years and fuck up your back
Nobody's
forever.
asking you for doing it for 5 years. Okay, let's just break this down real quick. What Tad, what would let's say Joe got in there, what low level, whatever, I don't know what the situation is. What's the lowest pay Joe would start at this place?
At the Libby Owens place?
Yeah,
Or whatever
the glass
it is.
factory?
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
The lowest you could start at is $24 an hour.
Jesus Christ,
That's
Joe.
more than I make
know
now.
how
Yeah,
much-
you move
live it-
hundreds of pounds at a time. That's why
But
you make
you
that
know
much.
how
that's
much
not
money
the
you could
point.
squirrel away living with your parents, making $24 an hour if you work there
No,
for
I
1
understand that.
year, 1 calendar year, which goes by in the blink of an eye.
I
And think about
I
this
could
too,
be a
Joe.
gay prostitute and make more than that. It's just
Think
I don't
about
want
this,
to do
Joe.
that.
No,
I
you
absolutely
cannot.
could. That's 100%
No, you could be a
true.
gay prostitute, but I don't think you're going to make a lot of money, Joe.
You could.
Deflection.
No, you can make $300 a video game fucked up the ass. I don't want
See,
to.
Joe,
so
look
that's
at this
why.
though.
But that's not
Now,
realistic
I don't
for
wanna-
a healthy
It
person.
is realistic.
I don't want to throw shade on your
No.
dad, but he is not like your dad is not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I see what he's saying, where it's like, I fell into the same trap where it's like, I think that a job or a certain thing, if I go to a job, I'm worried I'm going to be there like forever. Like when I worked at the pharmacy, I was working there and I was like, oh God, oh man, I'm going to be stuck here. My boss calls me stupid. He's a fucking asshole, yada, 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 all this stuff. As I was working there, I realized I'm like, okay, you know what? Here's the opportunities I have at this pharmacy. They will pay for my technician training, even though like I didn't get this job because, oh boy, I sure do love counting pills and getting yelled at by ogre men
You
who
need
have fucking
31
4-inch
this month, right?
nails.
Because this is August, and next month you're going to need 30.
Yeah. So it wasn't because of that. It was because it was a step up from the call center job. But the opportunities I saw there, I'm like, okay, if I work here for the year and a half to get certified, my certification's good. I don't have to pay the $600 for that. I can have the on-the-job training and all this stuff. And the end result I have from it is I did have to get, I started the job and I was like, oh God, this is gonna suck. I don't even know if I can do this. But I held on to it. And now I have in my back pocket, I have a reference from the pharmacist guy that he's, this connection I formed with him. He knows that I'm a good worker just because I showed up to work. I did
Well, you
my job.
weren't a dust head, so that you've got that going for you.
Yeah, and neither are you.
No, I'm not on dust yet.
So he knew that I was a hard worker. I stuck it out through all these years. I didn't do anything particularly. I didn't
have
solve,
to put in extra effort
Yeah,
at your place.
I just did like, okay, I'm going to work and I'm going to work well. And not because I have that. Most of the medical places in this entire county know John Grossbeck.
Yeah.
So I can apply. Now, I haven't done it yet because unemployment is making
No,
me
it's
more
much
money than
better.
I have
You're
had in my
making more
entire life.
money there than you would be working. So
But if it was out of that, which I'm going to be in like a week when unemployment stops, give me the free 600. I will be able to go to Hy-Vee and be like, hey, my name's Tad. I was a pharmacy tech at here, John Grossbeck, and it's going to give me a huge push over everyone else that's going to be coming in.
absolutely. Sure.
These are the passive connections that you can form. So yeah, working at I didn't form any of the connections. I was at the gas station. I was there for 4 years.
No, there was no opportunity to. I mean,
there was slight opportunity, but it's like They weren't.
You could maybe be an assistant to the assistant manager at a shitty gas station. Who gives a fuck?
So there's that, but like, I got the chain of events that led to me working at the pharmacy was just me. I need a job. I'm going to work at this call center in Streeter. They hire everyone. I worked there, got the connections. I sat next to someone. She knew a person, yada, yada, yada. And these connections you form just from these base level jobs can get you to what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key to life, Joe. And I've always said, when people like to say when it comes to employment or it comes to opportunities, well, it's all about who you know. That doesn't mean you're born knowing them. It's who you know as you go through life. And it's strange the way you meet people, and you may think that the connection is tenuous and unimportant because you met, volunteering at the carnival or something, but you have no idea where their life's going to lead. And they may give you a call. I mean, just me auditioning for a play in 2002, I met Sean Walsh and became fast friends with Sean, and have been friends with Sean ever since then. But the opportunities that my friendship with Sean we did plays with each other. We lived with each other. The whole reason I even know Tyler exists is because I was at Sean's wedding, and Sean drunkenly sat on my lap and told me I need to contact this guy, Tyler. He's making a movie this summer called Grace's Room. I had never heard of any of this shit. But the more experiences and the more positions you put yourself in, you never know where that leads to or what phone call you get.
15 years later, that relationship with Sean paid off with a job on the radio.
Yeah. I mean, but that was back and forth.
Never foresaw that happening.
Yeah, and that was a back and forth thing because Sean, when he got in a position where they reached out to him because he'd been, doing MC work and everybody knew him and how talented he was around the area.
He's always on the mic around here.
When he was afforded, the interview, he was interviewing to make commercials, to be the head of production there. That's how and he came to me actually after we recorded a 99-cent podcast, the one he was on when we were in pre-production for Butchers Bakers. He's like, hey, can I talk to you? And he just asked me for whatever pointers I had because I had done radio. And, I'm like, I don't know if these pointers will help you, whatever, just, and he ended up getting the gig. And then when the morning show, the opportunity opened up and they came to him, at least how I understand it, they came to him and said, hey, would you like to do the morning show? If you could find somebody, it's got to be a 2-man morning show. Do you know anybody? He's like, do I know somebody? Yeah, right. And so then, and that all came together and just fell together that way. And, the way shit happens, it's how, as much as I've been frustrated for years working on things that I don't think anybody sees, and that goes for theater. I've acted in plays where you had 15 people. I told you I did improv at the Ninth Street Pub on a Sunday night where we had 6 people. And every time we asked for a historical event as a suggestion, the guy kept yelling Three's Company.
Bush.
I want to give you one more really quick instance of this networking stuff. Yeah. My best friend, Alex, we literally one semester of PE class in high school, I went there and I'm like, I need to meet. This guy looks like a nerd. Hey, do you like Paper Mario? Yeah. And now we do a podcast for 3 years.
Oh, definitely.
That's how innocuous these networking relationships can happen.
I think there's some opportunity just here too, just like doing like Benevolent Buckley show and like going on the radio with you and Sean and all that kind of stuff too.
Maybe at some point, Joe, in the future, you and I can become friends.
Maybe. I don't like Paper Mario, see? So
okay, get the fuck away from here.
Ryan, I would like to, if possible, turn the mirror back on you. And Joe himself, not me, Joe prepared a couple of questions to ask you that might bring some insight to him. And again, Joe wrote the question, not me.
Oh, sure. No. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Joe. 100. That's 100% true.
Okay.
That is 100% wink, wink true.
Yes. Yeah. So, Ryan, you've had many different jobs throughout the years and lived in several different places.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the journey that led you to where you are today?
A very Joe question.
I can't, it's the most generic answer is, I don't know if things would have been different if I would have made a different choice here and a different choice there, if where shit would have led me to. So I can't say I didn't enjoy it. I've done a lot of creative things that I'm very proud of, and I'm going to do it until I'm in the ground, and I can say that I have had a ton of life experiences that have really, and if somebody whose main passion is acting and creating characters, I've been in so many different positions and met so many different walks of life that have helped me and informed me and stuff. So, Yeah, so far so good. That doesn't mean I'm 100% happy, and I'm not frustrated all the time about wanting to do more and more stuff and bigger stuff, and but I haven't had it too bad.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. At your current redacted age, how would you feel about finding new jobs in order to afford the lifestyle you want to live?
Jesus, Joe.
Well, well, I'm in a weird position right now, like a lot of people, because of COVID. Also,
everything's fucked everywhere.
Also, a year ago, I moved to a city I've never lived in before, where nobody knows me, and I ran into a lot of trouble getting people to call me back for jobs simply because of where I was from, and I was told that by other people.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard if you don't know people.
That because I come from northern Illinois, and here I am in the South, so to speak, that people are like seeing my resume, no matter what I just come from doing a radio show. I mean, I think that shows a certain level of intelligence and responsibility, especially for some of these gigs I was applying for, these day jobs, that didn't need anything like that. But
well, they think you're too upper class. They think you've got a snooty accent.
I had a hard time, and I had to go through agencies. And so, but I want to get back on radio, and I do have somebody that's willing to, at least before COVID happened, was willing to once I have my stuff together, my ducks in a row, to put in a good word for me. And I'm hoping that right now it's a fucked up time now. I don't know, media and everything. So I'm going to pursue that, but I have no idea what's going to come from that. I don't know where I'm going to work, man. I got laid off too. I got laid off, straight laid off, and I mean the job's not coming back. So luckily,
like Joe's.
Well, mine's not coming back just because I said there were rats in the building.
And how do you feel about that, Ryan?
I mean,
the good, the bad, the ugly.
The good is I do. The gig I was at before this happened was a nothing job. It was kind of like you talk about, Joe. I had like zero responsibility, but the funny thing is I was paid more at that job than I'd ever been paid before at any previous job. So, I mean, I was being paid more to do something that anybody off the street could have do than I was getting paid to do a radio show or getting paid to take care of, adults with disabilities or any of these higher responsibility jobs. I was getting, so I'm a little scared, I'm scared where I'm going to work. I don't want to work at some place that sucks the life out of me.
Subway or something, or who knows?
You don't want to work somewhere where you have some weird little pig boy come in and give you a soggy bag full of
buns.
Buns and mayonnaise.
Yeah. But, I have some time. So I think something will come together.
I genuinely worry about the day that, and there were some health scares in the last year or so for Joe's parents. But God forbid, if either of those two or both of them were to suddenly pass away, I do not want that. I love your parents. They're very nice people.
That, yeah.
But what would you do, Joe?
I mean, I would get some part of the inheritance, probably the house, because I live there.
That's a Joe answer. What can you ask for?
You've got to maintain the house, man. You got to mow the lawn. You've got to make sure shit works.
No. I've always said this. If I come into possession of a patch of grass, the first thing I'm going to do is bleach it. I will not deal with grass. So I just won't have a lawn. I'll have a patch of dirt in my yard, but I'm not going to mow that.
Deflection.
No, I'm just saying, yes.
A gripe that I was trying to pick at or scab a little bit earlier that I would like to further learn more about
just dig into it with a knife or something.
Is Joe constantly creates barriers and deflects, as Ryan has been saying, when it comes to, Joe, you can live a good life doing the things that you like if you pursue it. And he just doesn't pursue it. He won't do it. He'll either say that he doesn't have enough people to do a podcast or X, Y, and Z. But it's like, But what I want to know from you in regards to Joe's relationship with this aversion to even initiating something that he knows he would probably like, where does that come from? Why does he want to create barriers before he's even lifted a finger?
All right, so this is something that I've actually thought about independently, and not just about Joe, but about a lot of people that are me and Joe's age. Mm-hmm. Early 20, kind of up to mid 20, like 25, 26, whatever, that kind of age range. So a lot of people our age, we either, and I don't know if that's just because my sample size of this area, it's been such a common thing, is that there is not a lot of very clear role models for people to have. It's hard to generate the interest and the momentum to do something if you do not have anyone who's like pushing you to do it in your daily life. Like,
sure.
Like for me, like I grew up, my mom was a single mother. She had 3 boys. From 20 to 22, she had 3 boys. So she did the best she did, and we all raised up pretty fine. But like, it wasn't until I was 23, maybe 22, 23, that I really started realizing, oh, I have to have these kind of life skills. I have to find an apartment by myself. I have to go out and do this. I have to from 0, I have to go from 0 to 60, and no one's going to push me the first 20 miles an hour. I got to do it completely from start. And it's hard to do that if you're really comfortable where you are right now.
Okay.
It's super easy to just go, I'm just going to wait until your situation changes.
Okay.
By some outside factor. Like, I was perfectly fine to just laze at home until my mom moved to Wisconsin and then came back after a couple months or whatever. But when she moved out, I had to go and get an apartment. I had to work this job.
No choice to go with, or just wanted to stay here?
There was the choice to go with, but I'm like, I'll stay here.
Okay.
So
just to double down on this a little bit further. So let's say today specifically, Joe, I'm going to assume, unless you've changed, you could have changed in the last 2 hours.
Okay.
I'll give you credit. But
he's 6'4" and has a 6-pack.
Yeah. I started smoking a pipe.
But he still has a bowl cut.
Yeah.
So Joe has an audience. He has access to audiences, yours and ours, a rather large pool, especially for somebody who's coming out of this area. And he has access to really good equipment, whether it's audio or visual, and the means and support from people to teach or at least do things for him that he doesn't have the knowledge base for. And I would be more than willing to help him if he did steps A and B, and C is editing. I would gladly do that if he did A and B first, but he still won't do it.
let me just get a sip of water here.
He's inhaling, getting his lungs full of air.
Yeah. Well, no, he's just trying to drown himself before he has to answer that question.
It's called sneakily buying time.
Yeah, no, he put a little cyanide capsule in the bottom of that.
Yeah, he's starting to shake and vomit.
My molar, I just cracked it.
There you go.
All right, so with Joe, I think it's because now I understand I've tried to do a solo man like podcast, which a podcast is my forte, so I kind of understand that one more. It is really hard to make a one-man podcast that is entertaining for 30 minutes to an hour. Mm-hmm. In my experience, the only way to do that, there's a lot of history podcasts I listen to that are one-man shows, but that requires
you just write everything ahead of time.
You have to have basically an essay format that you've written down, and then you have to have all this research and all this other stuff. There's a lot of upfront. If you can find a suitable host, if you have two people, you can
that's always been my thing.
Offload some of the weight,
but
they can
Joe,
go back and forth, they can improv.
I pointed out earlier, Zach has reached out to you multiple times about doing some form of video game-based content. And I believe, from my understanding, that I think this is the third time this incarnation has come up. It has changed shape and form, but relatively the two of you in video games. So why? Why have you still not done it?
I feel like the reason might not. No, I'll just cut it before Joe can give his answer, or he can just steal it from me and just regurgitate it.
Sure.
Like like a bit like me. I'm the
like
mama bird.
I'm
the mama bird puking into Joe's mouth.
Worms
He's gonna
and
spit
beetles.
it back up. Yeah. I think Joe's hesitation that might be because he knows how saturated that market is for video game content like that.
Oh, you're giving him too good of an answer, Tad.
Well, it's like Zach has been doing this for hours at a time for months, and he gets 4 viewers.
But it's not about hey, there are so many
and he's trying as hard as he can.
So many podcasts. There are so many podcasts. Why podcasts were big in 2005 with Ricky Gervais's podcast. It's 15 years later.
Yeah.
There are thousands and millions of them. Everybody's doing them.
But yeah, I think that's what Joe's like. Joe's clutched onto that. So when I first did the podcast with Alex, the first episode was so bad I deleted it because I said some pretty bad things. Like in retrospect, if you think about it, it can be interpreted as bad. But we didn't know what I was doing for a while. And then the show, over time, we figured out what our strengths were and turned the show into that. Like we used to do, okay, what's our shared interest? Oh, video games. Let's talk about video games. And realized, oh God, we're out of video games that we care about.
Yeah.
Life stories. Oh Jesus, we ran out of those really fast.
Yeah.
And then we both kind of like, okay, you know what? We like history. We both realize that there's a gap in history podcasts that aren't about World War II
like 60 or 80 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, let's let's go on this. And then before we even found that, we did no stupid questions. Where we're like, okay, we're at a gap of content. We're bored of video games. We think there's too much video game stuff. We don't want to do it. What can we do? Oh, we did these side episodes where we answered questions from people and had a lot of fun with that. Then took that, made some shows, realized the history questions were more interesting, spun that into history, and then it's been aces since.
So to take what you just said, mix it with what Ryan was talking about his life, it sounds like basically, Joe, you just refuse to create life experiences for yourself to build off of, to find that courage, find that energy to push through problems. So that first problem showed up, that Snorlax was laying there in the road, and you just said, fuck it, I'm not going to find the flute or whatever it was.
Yeah,
and
I'm not catching the other 149.
And then you went home. Whereas you could have poked him for a little while. You could have tried to pull him off the road, push him. You could have tried to put a bomb up its
Maybe
ass
some
and blow it
salt
up.
in its eyes, yeah.
Exactly. And I like Ryan has said, I want you to be like a big hot air balloon. I want you to keep getting bigger and bigger and hotter, and you start
Get full of
floating up.
gas, yeah.
And I'll hang on to the rope at the bottom. I don't need to be the center of attention, although I recognize, audience, I am talking a lot on this episode because I talk
It's
about
also
this a
to say
lot with
Tyler's
Joe.
around Joe more than anybody.
Yeah, that's probably, that's true.
So he's got a daily view, day in, day out, of Joe and Joe's brain pan and everything else that's going on. So of course we start digging into Joe. Tyler's got a lot more, at stake and a lot more.
I gotta muzzle myself.
Experience.
Hey, Joe, I love you, Joe.
With Joe.
Love you.
Well, that's good.
Oh, another round.
I'm clapping.
Sorry,
too.
yeah.
And here's the thing about small projects, Joe, too. So I do the D&D podcast, right?
Yeah,
It
revival.
is 5 layers of audio that makes me want to cut my own head off when I have to edit it.
Yeah, you'll be like the mom in Hereditary at the end.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I won't call spoiler. That's 3 years old.
Yeah,
But-
you should have
so-
seen it, fuckos.
So the initial idea for that project was, we're really into these characters. It's like a more like unique thing. D&D podcasts are mostly people. They put a microphone on a table and they call it good, and they're garbage. They're awful. They're terrible. So let's do a higher quality. People are gonna love it. People don't love it. I still have all these recordings. What can I do with them? Well, okay. What enjoyment do I get out of these? Now, I do enjoy when people, someone's like, oh, hey, I love this character, and they draw like a picture of it. It's like, oh, yeah, that gives me that sweet, sweet dopamine.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, okay, with this project, the secondary thing that I noticed was coming from it was that I was cataloging my friendship from 2017 forward. So then I can go, you know what? When it is 2045 and we're in the irradiated nuclear wasteland that is the United States at that time, I can make, you know what? Let's go back and let's listen to that. I want to see how I was acting back then and see, listen to these things.
Yeah, it'll be the only glimmer of like good times, and everything just underwater.
Yeah.
And the bombs have fell.
Joe, would you consider yourself easily discouraged?
Morbidly obese.
No, would you consider yourself an easily discouraged person?
Oh, I would say so, probably.
Yeah, if you should see his face when I counterspell him in Magic. He just gets real crestfallen.
I'm disgusted. If he destroys a land, I will remove him from the play group.
Because what I find always, but tonight in particular, that when there's a bump in the road, when you hit any sort of wall in something, do you kind of just it's not worth trying? When at that first kind of sign of trouble or pressure, or it's going to be more difficult than you expected, you just kind of give up. Is that true to say? Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah, I'd say so, yeah. I mean, if I'm presented with a choice, normally my instinct is just to not make the choice and hope it goes away.
Path of least resistance, which is to not choose at all.
And it's a shame that we had those audio issues because on the last episode we were talking about embarrassing things. Joe is not easily embarrassed, if ever. And the best example I had of a, one-on-one moment with Joe was trying to get a couch into his house. And quite literally, Ryan, he hit the first corner of the door and about gave up and dropped the couch. Because it was just like, it almost seemed, Joe, it almost did seem like a wiring thing, like in your brain. Like you were trying, you stood there holding the couch, you tried to solve this puzzle, and my spatial awareness is equally not great. I'm not great at moving furniture. But it was like you tried to solve it, you couldn't, and you were like, I remember you threw your heads and said, fuck it, we'll just leave it.
Yeah, we can just leave it in the door frame.
To sound like a boomer, holding yourself up by your bootstraps is a skill. It is so goddamn easy to just not do shit.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I've been like, oh, I really do not want to hunker down and play Dungeons and Dragons for 7 hours tonight or whatever. Like I really would just prefer to fucking play video games on my phone. I
Yeah, you
want to
can
play.
watch something on my Plex.
Yeah, I'll just watch. What is? I've been meaning to watch that samurai film. There's like 14 of them. That's on your Plex.
Oh, Zatachi. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I've been
got all the
meaning to
Oh,
watch
Zatachi films.
nice,
yeah.
nice. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I could just be like, and just flop over on my fancy bed and not work.
And that's something that the reason I asked you this, Joe, is because it's something that I have not heard between the lines from any of the stories from Tad or Tyler. Is I don't think Tad is easily discouraged, and I know Tyler's not, and I know damn well I'm not. I'm a stubborn bastard, and that's but the thing is about this, and this is kind of where my thought process is this. I think about myself. Why am I not easily discouraged? That doesn't mean I'm not discouraged all the time. I got on the scale last night, and I was motherfucking discouraged in a big way. But does that mean I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing every day that I've been doing? No, I'm just going to be like, okay, cocksucker, I'm going to go even harder. But part of that, one of the things, it's just part of my makeup. It's part of who I am as a person. And part of it is also my upbringing, because that's my family's that way. We're not easily discouraged. That doesn't mean things work out for us. That means we hit the wall, and before we give up, we get angry and we try to figure out angles and, well, fuck you, I'm going to figure this out. Even when I want to give up, fuck you now. I'm not going to give up because it's the principle. Like, have you ever, or do you think Joe's ever felt pressure to go for anything in general?
This was something I mentioned. I think now at this point it was like an hour and a half ago when I was talking about people, me and Joe's age, where there really is not a lot of pressure. Like his family, Uncle Bob and all them, they're very just like my mom. My mom didn't really push for me to do things. Like I never did any after school stuff. And I'll give my mom a break on this because single mom, 3 boys, like. Jesus, it's a wonder we had stability at all.
Yeah. It's a wonder you didn't destroy the house.
Yeah.
What's that, Ted? Why do you have my makeup all over the walls?
One time my little brother Timmy, he threw an axe can into a bonfire in the backyard, and it was dead of winter, and it exploded into a literal mushroom cloud, and it took his eyebrows off, and it was like a few days before Christmas. So he went there, and I think it was our Aunt Jules. She saw him.
Where'd your eyebrows go, youngin'?
She just laughed at him and kept pointing at him. But yeah, it is. I feel, and I'm obviously it's not intentional. I'm not saying that they're bad parents or anything.
No, and I'm not even saying a parent has to do that. I just mean, because some parents are very hands off, and like my parents, they instilled in me, don't let anyone push you around, no matter what. Stand up for yourself, even if that gets me in trouble. They got my back, which has come in handy a couple of times, especially in high school. But at the same time,
with my mom,
they didn't push
Christine,
me in it.
she commented on these episodes. She is aware, and she's pushing, like she's going like, okay, yeah, no, you're doing good, Joe. You're doing good, Ted. She's actively like participating in it.
Yeah.
But like when I told my mom that like, hey, I want to do this thing, she would give me approval, but like she wouldn't keep pushing me towards it. I would have to do that by myself, which is why I didn't really self-motivate until I was in my mid-20s when I was like, oh, I gotta get this shit into gear. Let's get going.
But you also found something that you liked. You found something, and I think maybe in the age group, in any age group, any generation, there are people there that have dreams. There are people there that things they want to do, and then there are other people that are not sure what they want to do.
If it's something nebulous, like for me, I knew I kind of wanted to do medical stuff because when I was younger, I volunteered at the hospital and did all that stuff.
Well,
but
yeah,
it's
you like dissecting cats. I remember that.
I actually got very lucky with my anatomy and physiology class. I'm taking it online this summer, so I do not have to cut open the cat, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, because you have a sweet little orange tabby.
Are you at IBCC for that?
Yeah.
I used to, when my previous job with doing the shipping and receiving, I used to have to receive those cats.
Oh
yeah.
I
would love to see a split dog.
I'd have to count how many mail, because they'd all come at once. You'd get like 85 boxes of cats, and and you'd have to count the males, and you have to count the females.
It's like half of a hoarder's room. It's like half of their house.
And then you take them down to what they call the air chiller or the air handler room. It was just this.
Oh my God, they weren't frozen then? You just get them
raw?
nice
and moist.
No, they're. I don't even. I mean, they might have had dry ice in them, or they might just be. I want to say they're not. I want to say they're just vacuum sealed in formaldehyde.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And they're all shaved. They're shaved except for their legs and their head. in their tail.
Just so
It's
you
an
make sure
awful
it's a
sight,
cat.
man. I refuse to open them. Like I refuse to.
It's in there.
You could see on the outside of the. You could see on the outside
It says
because they come
cat.
individual. They come in individual boxes that are long, and you knew that they were the cat delivery. And you could
This
you
box
could
says pussy, but it don't look right.
Yeah. Where's my goddamn hustlers?
you could tell. You could tell that they were male and female, which boxes had male, which boxes had female by
You
a
can
little
tell just because
code.
of the balls.
No, Joe Buckley, because the code on the box. If you'd shut your yapper long enough, let me finish the fucking thing.
Well, I was
Take
trying to
20
make
minutes.
A joke.
It takes me 20 minutes to tell a minute and a half anecdote.
Yeah, because I'm always interrupting.
And just, anyway, yeah, it's fucking awful. And I would get.
Well, I'm impressed that it only took Joe 2.5 hours to finally start interrupting. So, Joe,
well, that's
again,
true. Yeah,
small
Third
applause.
applause.
See?
Third
Small
applause.
Yeah,
But
third applause
anyway,
of
I was
the episode.
I'm gonna give you one clap.
that was a digression because it cut out and it came, and then it cut on my end, and then it cut back in. And you were talking about dissecting cats, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I relate to. I never dissected the cat, but I didn't take classes
Well,
there.
you
for
get a
that,
leftover little paw or something.
So I was, I took my anatomy class and all that. When I came out of high school, I took my IVCC classes. I took my gen eds because I had fucking no clue what I wanted to do. Fucking whatever. The only other person in my family who's gone to college is my older brother, Zach. He went for business. Now he works at the Federal Reserve, and it's all great. He's got a hot tub. It's awesome. He's got a carpet that costs $4,000 and is more comfortable than my bed.
And
That's
you
fine.
accidentally get mud on it whenever you come over for a visit.
Yeah,
Joe
then he
makes
puts me in
mud
the
on it.
chokey.
Yeah.
Because he
But,
doesn't wipe
I
his
didn't
ass.
know.
He wipes his ass by scraping
I
across the
write my ass
floor.
on the carpet, like a dog with mange.
But I didn't know, like, nothing ever really clicked with me. Like, pediatrics. Oh, here's this medical thing. Here's this medical thing. But then it was just a strange thing. I was driving through Peru. I just wanted to go for a drive, I think. I just wanted to get out and get some air. And I was listening to NPR, and they had this program about the University of Central Florida and how they were 3D printing prosthetic arms for children. And I was like, oh, dude, that shit's crazy. That sounds great. Because I'm like, I was already interested in 3D printing because my friend Duncan, he works at Vactor, a big important place here in this area as an engineering fellow. And me and him worked together to 3D print a project beforehand. And I was like, oh, dude, 3D printers are fucking rad. Oh, my God, these are so cool. You can do anything.
Yeah, they're nice. I just want to use them to make dice. I just need more dice.
Yeah, so I listened to this story, and I made the connection. I'm like, oh, this is something that I could see myself actually genuinely wanting to really do. So then I started doing the research. Like I sent the company that was doing it like an email, and they're like, hey, this is the kind of qualifications we use, think about this for your future and all that kind of shit. But I didn't find that out till I was fucking 26 when I found something that I was actually interested in.
And so I always wondered, in your case, Joe.
Yeah.
Did you have a realistic thing that you wanted to do?
Yeah, gripper, like,
Best boy.
yeah, oh, yeah. Some kind of audio guy or something like that, just working on films.
So just like kind of a generalized, I want to work on films, but I don't want to be the creative head.
Yeah, I mean, you get like a good base, and then you get like 6 hours of overtime every single day because you're there all hours of the evening.
Yeah, and
But if it's something that you're enjoying,
the money doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Being a dolly grip, man, think about being a dolly grip. You're right there next to the director and the actors
I'm
all
pulling
the
around
time.
Dolly Parton.
When did you realize that that's what you wanted to do? Like, or that you would like to do something like that, the working on films?
I just pretty early on, like grade school, sometime in grade school.
That seems very early.
No, I mean, I was always in the film, so that's why.
Because remember,
in
the only
there.
other thing he had was Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
We barely
surprised,
had
Joe.
electricity in Grand Ridge.
So at what point, because I know as a young kid, you weren't watching all the shit you watch now.
No,
So-
I mean, there's no option, dude. There was no Netflix or internet to actually get what you wanted, so you had to rely on whatever you could get on VHS or TV.
So what were the movies you were watching, though, that you loved so much that made you want to work in the industry?
Well, it wasn't anything in particular. It was film as a whole. I was always interested in the...
Because when I think of you in movies, Joe, I only think of the pretentious bullshit that you spew. The stuff that the
well,
stuff
that's what
that
I'm
I
into
know,
now.
the
Yeah,
stuff I
that's-
know you're into now, but knowing that you wanted to get into, you loved movies and you loved the moving image, and at a young age, I'm curious, what were those favorite movies as a kid?
So every holiday, you would bring your DVD player and a stack of DVDs. What DVDs would you pack in there? And I think that would be
Do
a
you
really
remember
good...
any, Tad?
I remember Gremlins,
Okay.
Pulp Fiction, and Backdoor booty sluts?
No.
I didn't believe the
maybe
first two,
Fight
but I
Club.
totally believe in the third one.
When Tad says
I
Pulp
was-
Fiction, you're probably in at least high school at that point.
Or he snuck them in.
but
Because I
you
remember
said
him.
you said grade school.
Yeah, I mean, I would sneak things just
He
because they
would.
didn't know much. My parents are dumb in terms of media. They don't know anything.
But you weren't out buying VHS copies of Pulp Fiction, in 1998. So what?
Yeah.
What
I mean,
again?
in terms of
just hold on a second. I apologize. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but just answer Ryan's base question. What movies were you watching that made you feel that way?
I mean, in terms of childhood movies, it would probably be stuff like Indiana Jones, Gremlins, those kind of stuff.
So those
Okay, so,
things,
like-
you loved that stuff at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you had to, because every kid likes that shit. I've got my nephew into Gremlins. Nothing warmed my heart more when he wanted to fast forward through the boring actors and just watch the monsters. You specifically, I want to work in the motion picture industry at a young age. And I think that's significant. That means you were more affected, I feel, by movies that you were watching at that age than your average child at that age. Because
Yeah.
that's the
You know
shit
what?
you hear from Spielberg and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
know
I
what I
might
mean?
remember what it was. Because, as a kid, I wouldn't be allowed to watch movies, but I could look up trivia on those movies because I'd be over at my grandma's alone using her computer. So I'd just be up on IMDb for 4 hours a day looking up movie trivia.
So you wanted to look up the movies that you couldn't watch. You wanted to see
Well, yeah,
the
also
things,
some of that, yeah.
the things that were on the other side of the glass because
Wow.
parents said they were too filthy, or you were yearning for something more because maybe you really liked the experience of Indiana Jones and Gremlins. But you wanted to know about, these aren't necessarily the movies that people talk about when you're around the adults. They're talking about Quentin Tarantino's latest hit, Pulp Fiction.
Well, and it's in terms of being interested in what goes into making a movie and then getting interested in all that kind of stuff.
But there's two different things there, though, Joe, because there's the love of storytelling. Like, when I think about Goonies, I think about when I was younger and I loved the adventure and watching young kids go off on a crazy adventure and all this stuff happening without adults getting in the way, except for, the Fratellis.
Yeah.
But you're talking specifically about helping them make that thing. I didn't start to feel that way until I got a camcorder in my hands, when I was 10 years old. This was well after I knew I loved movies. So, how was that? Did you have a camcorder in your hands? How did you know?
No. Well, I had I mean, I've shown you footage of stuff like that. I mean, I had
But I'm talking back in the Gremlin days when you were loving Gremlins.
No,
when you're
no, my family was
7, 8
poor.
years old.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford film.
Because I can't help but I'm going to go back a little bit and nitpick something there. When Ryan first launched into the movies you liked when you were a kid, you didn't start saying what those movies were. It was almost like you were retroactively defending you at that age for not knowing who Kubrick or Lynch were. You were saying like, well, I didn't have access to those. I didn't have access. It was like you were trying to say like, I would have been watching them, but I couldn't. It's like,
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's like, who knows?
but that doesn't even matter. Like Ryan asked you one specific question. What were the movies that you liked? And you couldn't just answer it. And that's a common thing on everything we do. A lot of times you won't answer a question. I don't think you recognize that you're doing it. You have to explain to us why the answer may disappoint us or may disappoint someone or disappoint you.
And it's not going to disappoint me at all, Joe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Gremlins and Indiana Jones are great.
this is what kids want. Yeah. I love that shit. I love Spielberg. I love mainstream cinema. As much as I can talk about kung fu movies of the 70s until my legs fall off, I will also sit in here and talk to you about Lethal Weapon and Spielberg films and every mainstream movie. And I like the Fast and the Furious sequels, dude. I'm not going to bust your balls if you say you grew up watching fucking Annie and you loved Annie and that's what got you interested in cinema.
I wanted to be a little redhead.
I'm
yeah,
gonna
that
love
was the
that
thing.
shit because
We're going to put you in the chokey.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't
Yeah,
need
the
to.
sun's gonna come up tomorrow.
If you can, in the most condensed form, I know it's going to be difficult for you because I don't want to hear about all the hurdles or the perceived hurdles that are keeping you from doing this. But why do you think you haven't more thoroughly attempted to go after that goal, or at least trying to get your foot in the door?
Well, I would imagine just motivation. I mean, everybody lacks motivation to some extent. I
but
lack a lot of it.
That grinds my gears. You always say, well, everybody does this thing. It's like you're excusing it. It's like, yeah, everybody could eat dirt, but don't eat dirt.
But we're earthworms. We can't help it.
There was a caveman at some point that said, Jesus Christ, I'm sick of eating like fucking rocks. I'm going to go kill that thing over there and eat it.
Yeah.
So I apologize. Oh, I'm gonna.
Yeah, but
I'm breathing.
the
I'm
issue
breathing.
is that 90% of people are still eating rocks, and you're the
Stop it.
10% that aren't.
Okay.
Joe.
Right, yeah,
maybe it's
today,
just Joe didn't know where to start, and
that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like, why is it that the only thing that you've really done so far is followed your dad's advice and called me?
Well, no, I mean I did everything involving with all this in terms of everybody's stuff.
This is one sector of that. You're never going to make a living off of that. That's the way you have to approach it, because otherwise it's not fun and we're not going to enjoy it. That's how we maintain this, is we enjoy what we're doing. We haven't made a dime off of anything we've done.
No,
in fact,
no, never.
$70,000 to $100,000 has been spent for our joy. Okay, so for you on a personal level, there are bigger things than what we do. Why have you not pursued that?
I wouldn't necessarily like to go to Chicago right now. I mean,
okay,
that's not something, I don't know.
Joe,
That's okay.
Would you be happy if, let's say, Tyler's like, you know what, Tyler's life moves on, and that shuts this stuff down. And if you're like, well, I'm not going to go to Chicago, or I'm not going to pursue this and this, would you be okay then never doing, and I'm not judging one way or the other your answer, I'm just seriously a question. Would you be okay if this all stopped tomorrow and you never did another creative thing, you never worked on another film again, you never did another podcast again? Would you be okay with that?
No, I'd probably try to get involved with another podcast.
Okay, but Tad's exploded.
So you do have that.
No, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily mean Tad. I mean just somebody else's podcast.
Yeah, he wrote a story that suspiciously came true, where I exploded inside the foyer of a beautiful mansion.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I got all your podcast money because you wrote your will in blood.
You say, oh, I would try and get on somebody else's podcast, but whose and how? And I'm not saying that like you would never or you can't. I meant genuinely asking.
I mean, I have no idea, but I don't need to worry about that, so I haven't thought of it.
But it's basically the question I'm asking is, all right, let's take you back 5 years, but your current you this is before you did all the movie stuff, before you got started on that. Was it just I feel like the answer might just be because it's just inaction. I want to do this thing, but I don't have any easy motivation. I don't have someone that's telling me, hey, you should go do this thing. You would like this. You're not getting that initial push to get you to go and look at these things or do the X thing. Get started, try and network, do all that kind of that horse shit that comes with being like trying to get a job or do whatever. Is it just that, Joe, or is it just that's the answer I'm leaning to, because that's the one that I would pretty much fall under. It's just didn't have someone telling me to do it.
Anything, yeah.
Okay, I think I've discovered something here. And Ryan, I believe we've shared in this before. Joe, you genuinely hate to participate in hypotheticals. You avoid it. You almost refuse to do it.
Let's play hypothetical magic, Joe.
That's a fact. And I almost think it's because you don't want to face that reality because it will force you to change. We posed a hypothetical. Tad and I are no longer available to you. So how would you do it? And you just couldn't answer the question. You refused it. You moved beyond it.
I don't have an idea.
Okay, so then why would your answer be, well, I would try and get on somebody else's podcast?
Because that's what I would try to do.
Okay.
And then you asked, how would I do that? I don't know.
Hypothetically, well, what's the first step in anything?
Bother them? I don't know.
No, but you don't
that
know.
is a step, yeah.
Podcasts have been banned within 50 miles of this location, okay? So you're going to have to go deep in order to start this process. I am just genuinely asking, what would you think your first step would be?
Bother people on the internet.
Okay.
But what kind of people?
Would you? Anyone who can listen.
You answered your own question. So you do have a desire, you do have an ambition, and you do have a passion and a love of things, but I feel you get easily discouraged from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to touch on that, Ryan. Do you think you have the capability to work beyond the barriers that you would face?
Oh, that I have no idea.
Well, I mean, like, do you think you have the drive and passion to pursue that so much, the creative process, that you would do whatever you have to do to get there?
Maybe, but I mean, it's not like I have a ton of passion for anything.
I mean that's think about it like this, Joe. You did this on a smaller scale. You did go through Sit Boys and do the editing process for that, and I know that after a certain point you were like, God, this fucking blows. I don't want to do this anymore. But you did it,
and you got great satisfaction.
It wasn't fun, but you did it.
Yeah, I mean, with the editing shit and project kind of shit I take on, I normally kind of finish maybe about a third of it.
So
that's
Joe,
still finishing.
Yeah. So of all the things you've done, and that whether it's working on River City Panic, acting, in any of these films, Benevolent Buckley show, Malevolent Movies, podcast with us, with your cousin, etc. Which one overall do you get the most satisfaction out of?
No, I mean, I definitely like being like on Man with No Brain and Malevolent Movies here because I have a lot of like.
Well, there's some differences there. Obviously this is a podcast, and the other one is more visual and kind of.
I can do a lot more on the video stuff.
I mean, that's the thing you're most proud of. Is the
YouTube content.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was very proud of Butcher the Bakers as well, but with the YouTube stuff, it's like, I mean, very fast turnaround kind of. I mean, I can do it, and then maybe a month later, I get to see what people think of it. Almost.
You don't have to wait so goddamn long.
Yeah, you're waiting
to
a
get
year in terms of the start of the movie to the end.
You can get your dopamine faster.
Because it has been very clear for a long time that Joe constantly lauds people who have conversations that make Joe laugh or that he finds interesting and can do it at a rapid pace. That's his bread and butter. That's what he loves to consume every day.
Yeah, if it takes 3 seconds to think of a thought, I've got no fucking time for that.
Okay. Well, so that's an attention span thing, which amazes me because you like cinema that is not that way.
Yes.
You're an anomaly.
I mean, I'll go through hundreds of hours of different stuff, so it's not an attention span stuff.
This is why I get fascinated with the Joe and why with the Man with No Brain is because on one hand, Joe is the epitome of everything I dislike about the whole internet generation, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, where everything's got to be fast now. I don't want to wait 2 seconds. If it's longer than 3 minutes, I'm out. But at the same time, he will sit there and go on and on about some very slow cinema. He'll talk about Kurosawa. He loves The Shining stuff.
I want long shots that last 7.5 minutes.
And that's what interests me about you, Joe. That's what interests me.
Absolutely. But let's just say hypothetically, everything we've done on YouTube has been on the coattails of Tad Becker. I mean, absolutely. The people that came for Benevolent Buckley show came from Tad's channel. Like, our bench is not deep. The filmmaking bench is not deep. We made movies that people acted in and worked on and didn't even fucking come to see it.
That's true. So that's the sad truth, man.
Yeah. We made almost $1,000 at the box office at our local theater for every movie we showed. The box office didn't change despite the fact that the quality of the films absolutely did. And it's because it was the same people bringing their parents and their siblings and their girlfriend and boyfriend to watch the movie. So if Tad wasn't here and what we were trying to do right now wasn't nearly as successful, do you think that you would wane interest and peter out, give up, not want to do it?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, for a long while
you.
with it was like a total fluke that when the podcast was getting like 25 views on YouTube and 10 people listening on RSS, and I was like, this shit's awesome. I love this. There's almost 50 people that are like watching this thing. And then Joe just YouTube fluke. He did an episode about that Chris Chan guy.
Yeah.
And because we just had significant effort put into it and a lot of people didn't, it just hit the lucky YouTube button.
And I'm seeing a very strong correlation here, Joe. Today, you are Chris Chan. I mean, we are. Well, no.
Oh,
I don't.
Okay.
I don't mean in personality.
I was like, oh, Jesus.
I mean, we are over three. We are over 3 hours of recording. This is going to be a very dense episode. That's not very funny, and it's mainly going to be a spotlight on you.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
This is a comedy / self-help / education podcast.
Yeah, and I love and for my side, I love it because. With the Man with No Brain, it was idea. It can be funny if it's funny. I'm not going to try to be funny, to be honest with you. I'm not going to try and do bits, but I want to dig into the Joe Buckley. And for me, this has been fun. I can't tell for listeners.
That's good. That's good.
If this is what I was hoping would occasionally come out of Man with No Brain. I want to get down to the real thing because I am genuinely fascinated by Joe. When you strip away the squealing. And you strip. There's a lot going on there, and there'll probably be people that were like, "I don't want to know Joe."
No,
they don't care.
Pissed.
They don't want to know that Joe shit in his hat every day in 3rd grade. They just want to hear Joe yell out his pee.
Yeah. For time, what do you got? Do we want to go finish through Tad's list here?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm here, man. We were connected. It sounded good.
So All right, so this is the reward for listening through for all these deep
Yeah, my
moments.
therapy session.
So editing Sit Boys, related to that, for the third film set, it was like this abandoned, crappy looking,
Kind of warehouse.
warehouse that was at like my roommate's place of employment, and in there, Joe made an amazing discovery, which was there were these stairs that went down. And he said, "Hey, look what I could do in this basement." And he just started pissing off the steps. And then he created the piss basement.
That was my modern art masterpiece.
Another one of the first time we were filming, I went upstairs to grab something, and I came back down, and Joe had a VR headset on, a gun in one hand, and was pretending to furiously masturbate while humping towards the door. And he kept dry firing the gun.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to make sure you knew that I was playing a video game right then, and I wasn't to be disturbed.
Yeah. Well, there was a glow-in-the-dark scene for Sit Boys that didn't make it through. We had a bunch of glow-in-the-dark paints, and what we did was we threw it all over the room. And what we discovered was that with the black light, it would show up on there. But then the whole point of the sketch was that there's something else that shows up under a black light that Joe knows a lot about.
A little bit of
So,
semen.
Nacho cheese.
Yeah.
No!
So for the goof, what we did was we did face paintings and did stuff like that. And what we did with it was we realized we could take the black light, and every time someone came in our house for a week or so, we would do a TSA jizz check and have them put out a T-pose. We would turn the lights off and scan them.
Yeah, just making sure we didn't have cum on our sweaters before we entered Tad's abode.
And let me tell you this, much to Joe's credit, he passed
I came in
5 TSA jizz checks. And we checked everywhere on those jeans. We didn't check inside
So
his
Joe
shoes.
came into your house without any dried seed?
Yeah,
I know,
absolutely.
right? It's incredible.
Yes.
I
I
am
am a very
shocked.
clean person. I put on clean clothes. I don't cum all over my face and then wipe it off
But
with my
here's
shirt.
the thing, Joe probably one of two things. One, Joe anticipated that he was coming in to your house and he might get this check, so he made sure he put on good bubby clean clothes, his Sunday best.
He did have an outfit for the most of the scenes. He did have an outfit, so he might have cheated with that. He might have used a different baiting outfit.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. We all know that Joe takes off all of his clothes when he takes a shit. We learned that from the hour. But I assume when he humps his fleshlight, he's without clothes too. So there wouldn't be.
No, most of the times I just poke it out my jeans.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So some other stuff. When we went to Shrek Fest, we stayed over because we didn't want to. It was like a 5-hour drive, right? We didn't want to drive back the same day.
Yeah, we went groggy.
So we stayed the night, and it was 2 beds. It was my roommate and then his friend were sleeping. You sleep the horizontal, where you got 2 dudes on a bed.
Yeah.
And apparently I thrashed so much I kicked Joe out of bed, and he was sleeping in front of the door.
Yeah.
And
I guarded like a big cat, like an overgrown cat.
so he woke up 10 minutes before breakfast stopped, rushed downstairs, and took every single bagel that was available and threw it onto his plate so that no one else could have any bagels.
Well, it was 10 minutes before breakfast, so nobody else is getting bagels.
Maybe I wanted a bagel.
I didn't think Joe ate bagels.
That's the only thing that was there.
I thought
Yeah,
Joe
the
called
rest
those,
was
called those shitty donuts.
Yeah. No sugar donuts. Ugh.
During one of the scenes for Sit Boys 2, we had interviews, and much to Joe's credit, he came up with a really funny bit where so we had interviews with the cast members because the joke for it was going to be the Star Wars Enhanced Edition for a thing that's obviously never going to come out. But Joe, everyone else was camera right on, they were happy, they were peppy, but he changed the lights to be very dark, and he was smoking a cigarette, actually smoking a cigarette, talking about Sit Boys. And then for one scene, he had 10 cigarettes in his mouth, and he lit them all with a blowtorch.
So wait, you said for Sit Boys too?
Yes.
Yeah, we did shoot additional footage.
Yeah, what we were going to do is that for April Fool's this year, what I ended up doing is I ended up doing a YouTube live stream of lo-fi hip-hop beats, one of those things.
Oh, yeah.
But what we were going to do is we were going to do the commercial for Sit Boys 2, which we made a bunch of stuff for. One of the scenes was going to be a Lord of the Rings style battle against the rock stars and the monsters. We had all these cardboard outfits and stuff. Those are just kind of sitting in storage now. But we had all this stuff. We had an animatronic that was like a Red Bull can that had a jagged mouth that would attack a child and spray blood everywhere and shit. We're gonna do stuff like that. We might still do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we could dust out the footage.
I remember.
But yeah, we did a bunch of stuff for that.
I remember because Sit Boys, when it came out, it was around this time last year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because
it was supposed to come out April 1st, and then it
I
came
think it
out
took
in
another
August.
3 months or
yeah,
so.
because I had recently moved. I'd only been here a couple of weeks at that time, and
And you get to enjoy Sit Boys at your new
remember,
abode.
I remember feeling a tiny bit homesick, whatever, and Sit Boys popped up, and I was excited. And I watched that fucker almost the second that I knew it was up. And I think I texted Joe. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, it was Sit Boys. I'm glad we did it. I wish I would have realized, like, because I had the ideas for all the scenes in my mind, and then I didn't realize that between point A, like the start and the joke delivery, there had to be more things going on than talking directly into a camera.
Yeah.
If I would have remembered that, it would have been more tighter. Or I could have cut like another 8 minutes out of it. After you get past the first act, I think it's actually genuinely pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not a lot else out there like it, you know.
My boss at the pharmacy watched it when we were at work. I told him it came out, and he just whipped out his phone and started watching Sit Boys. I'm like, oh no,
you're fired.
He keeps saying fuck, and you're referring to his penis.
Yep.
And this is my employee?
The only other Joe moment I got written down here is one day I was at work or something, and Joe just showed up to my house and was like meandering in the backyard. When my roommate John came home, he's like, "Joe, what are you doing?" And Joe just, and he started doing curls with like some garbage he found. And then he came inside and just sat there with John, and they did nothing. And then John went to go take a shower while Joe watched something on Plex and then left. And I was so confused because I wasn't going to be home for another 6 hours.
Okay.
I think he was in a fugue state like Walter White.
Yeah.
Maybe. I can't remember that. Who knows?
This is probably around Sit Boys filming or something.
Yeah. So
Do you
I probably thought we had plans and fucked up the date.
Yeah.
So, Tad, being somebody who does, creative endeavors with Joe, do you ever find yourself in that position where before you share it to somebody or you tell somebody about it, you gotta explain
Joe warning?
or do you just let it lie as it is?
Only when it's someone who I don't think understands the kind of crass internet humor. Like if it's like my boss at the pharmacy, I told him as soon as he started playing, I said, "Okay, listen, Mark,
Turn that fucking phone off right now."
put it on silent, have subtitles on, please, for both of our sakes."
Yeah.
But I'll preface it with, this is very much 20s internet humor. You might, if you like Adult Swim, you're gonna get it. But if not, Joe's gonna say some things about certain regional people.
I don't believe I've ever done that.
In my experience, because I've, especially with Benevolent Buckley, that's my out of all the stuff that I've done with this in this camp in this group, which are the Bakers, etc. I am so proud of the Benevolent Buckley show. That's the thing I'm the most proud of from top to bottom.
I shilled it really hard. It was a lot of fun to watch.
I think it's phenomenal.
I really, really enjoyed making that. That was a blast to do. Yeah.
I think it is. I think it is phenomenal. I'm incredibly proud of it. I hold it up as a pedestal of what is possible in this backyard low budget world that of movie makers were in, because I'm kind of in with this world to a certain extent, and I a lot of these movies are just oof.
Well, a lot of people are making like Pork Farm Nail Gun Massacre.
A lot of people making a lot of
3
stuff.
and 4 and 5.
And when I see the Benevolent Buckley show, it's something that was made at a very, very low budget. That was made
probably like $4,000.
The majority of it, the bulk of the photography was done in 2.5, 3 days max.
It was really like a day and a half.
Like a day and a half. And the fact that it's whether you like it or you don't like it, if you're plugged into the super duper low budget indie genre scene, the horror scene, there's nothing like the Benevolent Buckley show. There's nothing out there like that. That's as weird and as put together as well as it is. And that is the thing that I'm most proud of with these, as far as all these projects are concerned. And having said that, though, whenever I share it to somebody that may not have any sort of inkling toward comedy or indie, that isn't going to think these things, isn't going to look at it from that point of view or anything, I just say, Joe is he's an interesting character,
rude, crude dude.
But if
with a tude to match the mood.
But he's a specific character. If the character turns you off, don't let that stop you from watching the show. Get through the show, and that has always been my thing. And most of the people I've showed to, sometimes they say, yeah, that first episode, or yeah, his voice and his face, I don't know, I don't understand
His
it.
face, I just want to punch it.
But they're like, I'm glad I stuck with it because it gets weird and funny, and there's a storyline to it. It's not, and I've gotten mostly compliments from people that aren't plugged in, that aren't artistic people or actors. They're just dudes I worked with at these random jobs, this job and that job, and that's
So something I'm starting to realize here, Ryan, as you talk about that is, but I agree. I think Benevolent Buckley Show is the best, most consistent thing we've made thus far, and it's making me wonder about Joe. This aversion to practice, or getting better at comedy, or however you want to call it. It's almost like maybe Joe doesn't know who he is yet. Because you haven't faced these challenges that the rest of us may have, whether it's, through employment or relationships or living on our own or something like that. But maybe we're still figuring out who you are, Joe. Yeah. Because all this time I've been thinking, Joe, bowl cut, adult baby boy, basement boy.
Yeah.
But maybe that isn't who you are. Maybe you're going to be like Alan Rickman. At 30, at 40, you're going to blossom into this.
And then become new Gandalf.
Maybe so, Joe.
Maybe you're going to be the next Pee Wee Herman. Who knows?
Stay away from theaters.
No, yeah. Well, I was going to say, instead my name's Pee-Pee Herman, and I just keep grabbing it and screaming.
Hurtin',
that it
yeah.
hurts.
Yeah, Pee-Pee
Well,
Herman.
yeah, Joe really wants that catchphrase to work. He wants that catchphrase to happen. He wants that to. He's tired of it. Yeah,
I want fetch
yeah.
to happen.
I've got that video of my pee-pee hurts. And so, Joe, just be honest. Let's just get it out. Is that from something? Did you hear it somewhere?
No,
Okay.
Absolutely not.
So you just like the reaction you got that first time that I recorded you slowly zooming in on your face going, my pee-pee hurts. And then I sent that out to all of our friends and they laughed and thought it was funny. And then you're just like, you know what?
Well, at this point, it's like a meta reference to the podcast because we brought it up so many times on the podcast now. So whenever I'm doing that, I'm just doing it in the podcast.
So it is like a catchphrase.
Well, he says,
Well, he
says it.
Super.
Well, he says it in Buckley Show.
Yeah.
When your hand's bleeding, right?
Yeah,
and then
right.
You piss
That's right.
yourself,
Yeah.
And you go,
I do, yeah.
You do. That's where you got the line.
I don't remember that.
Isn't that what you're saying on the?
I'm saying something about my pee-pee, I think.
You're always saying something about
you
your
cut
pee-pee.
your hand. You cut your hand, and you're like, "Oh, it's happening," or whatever, and you're yelling, and then when you're on your side,
very similar. Yeah, very similar.
I think you say with pee-pee, that's when you piss. And that's what
yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I have to go back. But
Here's something like that. Yeah.
How did you guys? How
Let's
did you
go
get
back
the
in the
piss?
archives and find
This
that
is
this
the
footage.
Mandela effect.
that was Tyler with the water.
What was the piss effect?
That was
This is
Tyler
my
with
one
a water
opportunity
bottle.
to
You just
ask.
got water all over me?
Squeezing a water
Yeah,
bottle.
I had a water bottle up Joe's backside
Yeah,
between
my
his
skirt.
legs, squeezing just a full-fledged water bottle. Because I imagine Joe has a small penis but a massive urethra.
Yeah, big hole. Just because I've been fingering
He's
it.
a reverse Hank Hill.
Yeah, Hank Hill had a narrow urethra. I've got a
Yours
slut
is like-
urethra.
You
They
could
say.
fit a hot dog up there.
Yeah, just bouncing around.
That's every time Joe walks around a corner, you hear it whistling.
Yeah, I went to the Grand Canyon and all the wind up there was just scaring people. They felt like it was a Native American thing. They didn't know.
When Joe says, "Do you want to play my skin flute?" It's not just
I'm
a
taking
euphemism.
it literally, yeah.
It's a skin oboe.
No, like a skin bassoon.
Booze. And remember, Joe, you have to answer correctly, and you can have
No
this
bits.
1/3.
I can have half,
Yeah,
one
you can
third
have
of a
third
Rockstar
of my
Punch.
backwash. Yeah.
No, I won't be
Oh,
drinking
hold on a
that. I'm
second.
okay.
Let me.
1/5.
Joe turning down a sip.
I don't want I don't want Ted spit in my mouth.
It's less sip and more spit at
It's
this
more
point.
spit at this point. Yes.
All right, go ahead, Joe.
So, Joe, I don't know. Ryan, Ted, are you guys done with your questions?
I'm
wanna
done for now.
give
I'm
away.
pretty much done. I didn't ask every question, but we kind of hit on all the other things. Maybe down the road, if Tad wants to come by again,
Yeah.
there's some more childhood stuff I want
Part
to dig
4.
into, but it's nothing that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm still interested in the
Well, I
experience.
also can't remember my childhood. I've got shit memory.
I'm still fascinated. I still want to dig in more into the family and the way you relate to your family members and the Joe that is at Christmas as opposed to the Joe that you know what I mean? I'm still fascinated with your brother and your sister and how they relate to you.
Ryan, I think it's inevitable.
And that
At
stuff.
some point, the actual family is going to start showing up on the podcast
Oh, I would
because
love
you
that. And
I'm salivating. I just want. It's 3 hours and almost 3.5 hours, and I'm salivating for more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was,
yeah, yeah.
Do you honestly think we could get members of your family on the show?
I mean, maybe my sister, maybe my Aunt Chris.
I
Other
mean,
than that,
Jake,
I can't think
not
of
your
it.
parents?
We
You don't
tried
think
to
your
get
parents would
Jake.
do it?
No, I don't think they'd be
You just got to
interested.
find a day where Jake's got the day off because he's an EMT. He doesn't actually serves a purpose in this world, Joe.
No, I understand that, but we tried a couple different times to get Jake and do a couple minutes, and he didn't
he's a
really
busy
seem
guy,
Did
interested.
you have
He's
any
a busy
friends?
guy.
Here's I don't think a question I never asked you, Joe. Do you have any childhood friends?
No, God, no. Nobody left from that.
Okay.
No, I barely had friends as a child. Not
No
any
one
that
left.
stuck
Because you
around.
killed him, or
No.
It's Grand
Okay.
Ridge. You got 300 people.
No,
and-
I mean,
Yeah.
in Grand Ridge, there were 30 people in my class,
Because
and
I'd
I
like to
think
just,
I had...
I would love to do an episode where it's kind of like This Is Your Life, the old show, where Joe doesn't know who's coming in, and he's sitting
Okay,
there,
Ryan.
and then they walk in the door, they sit down, so
It's
like
my
an old
Aunt
childhood
Mima.
friend, or if
Ryan,
Tad-
I honestly think I know somebody we could get that would do it. It would be very uncomfortable, though.
Oh, I think
is
I
it-
might know that, man.
No, you don't. You
No,
don't.
okay.
I was gonna
I'm not
say.
going to do that to you.
Okay.
I
Is it
think
somebody
I
who's
honestly
got some
think that
baby lotion?
I
oh
think the
no,
manager.
God, I don't think he would do it.
I think the manager at the Roxy would do this,
Yeah, maybe.
and I think we could just ask him point blank. How is Joe as an
Was
employee?
Joe a good worker? No. Hey, did you ever pay me more? No. So
Well,
there we go.
if you're not going back, and this guy's cool,
Give me
with-
my
Hey,
$50,
he's a nice
Tyler.
guy. He's a
opening
nice
up, I would
guy.
love
No,
to
yeah,
hear
yeah. Ryan's fine. He's fine.
But it's like if we really wanted to get to that grit under the
I
nails,
might burn the bridge.
that we need to know from people that like, hey, his relationship with you was very passive. It's like he's your boss, but really, is he a boss there? It's that type of dynamic
no,
where
he
it's
could,
like
he could definitely fire people.
it's
but
like
yeah.
you're mostly probably an inconvenience to him. No offense. You're not the type of person that's going to self-start and go start cleaning things. You have to be told every single thing you're going to do.
No.
So it's like you are probably a very frustrating employee for him. But
Sure.
I don't think he was like vindictive. I don't think he let go of you. I'm sure it pained him to do that because he knows that you're a decent person for the most point.
Yeah, I mean, he had to let go like 10 people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's worth exploring at some point.
Maybe.
So give us your retrospective thoughts and feelings. How do you feel now as you did 3.5 hours ago?
I think
Don't just say because you have to pee now.
I do not have to pee. I'm not rocking my leg because I have to pee. I'm rocking my leg because it's a nervous tick.
Okay.
I believe I know kind of a bit more about myself and how I affect others, but I'm still
Okay.
basically the same person. So I mean, nothing
you're
like
not
that
gonna
has
change
changed.
over in 3 hours.
But you're aware of things that you can.
But just being
Dude.
aware of that is big. Yeah.
No. yeah. But I mean, it's like, do I have any more motivation? No. I mean,
Well, is there
Who
any?
knows? Who
Is
knows?
there anything that's been said today you're going to think about?
oh yeah. No, sorry, I got distracted. I was gonna put in my phone something. Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. Joe's just making a grocery list.
No, I wanted to tell Ryan something about Joe Bob.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
He found his master tapes of big box sets coming out. But I didn't know if it was fit for the podcast or not.
It's in now.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh fuck. Oh god. Speaking of experiments of grotesque imagery and awful people, is that it for Joe? Do you have anything else to throw at him?
I'm
I
done.
know, I think I'm a nice person.
I think we've done a real good excavation into his skull. So
Well, it's like the scene in The Descent where like you just see all those goobly goos coming out of the cave.
Yeah. We've gone deeper into this buck than anyone besides himself has.
I like to think we drilled into his skull so deep we might have just touched his heart a little bit.
Yeah, and it grew a size bigger.
And just a
Well,
bunch of
that's-
nugget sauce came out of it.
You might go to the doctor, please.
You think I should? Okay.
It's not just sour. Now it's a little bit sweet and sour.
Yeah, I think I've been a bit too tan lately, Doctor.
All right, Ryan, take us home. Take us home.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in to this juggernaut that was the man with no brain. I want to thank Tad for swinging by and helping me plunder his skull.
Plunder this buck, this young greenhorn.
He's plundering the graves, because let me tell you, this it's like basically my skeleton
Joe, take the improv class.
I think
listen, my
Joe
skeleton is-
needs his oil changed because something's just going on.
No. My skeleton is cracked in several places because I put too much pressure on my hips, is what I was going to say.
So, of course, Tad's
is that a
podcast
joke?
on YouTube, at
I
least
think
called
that's a joke.
his channel.
Yeah,
Let me tell you
it's-
about. Go over there and throw him a sub and give him a like. And as also our other channel, Malevolent Movies, our home base channel. Go over there. A lot of good content on there, and give that a like.
If you got a wayward 20-year-old in your life, send them this episode.
Yeah, and if you've got a wayward $20 bill in your pocket, go ahead and send it to Tyler Ann to try to help pay for some of this stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. And,
I wouldn't
and if
mind
you have
that.
a movie project that you think Joe Buckley would be perfect for, all you
Backdoor
He's looking
sluts
for work.
Yeah.
anywhere in the United States.
Oh yeah, I'll drive out there. My protege can make it.
Make it through the mountains.
All right. So thanks for everybody for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time as we plunder the depths, the sewers of the man with no brain.
Yeah.
This was 4 hours I won't get back.